of the WAFL. So everyone in the football community, our thoughts with Grant and family, losing his father during the week. Already some push and shove down in the goal square at the Subiaco end, but the 2001 grand final underway. A scrappy looking start. Devon Perry, the first effective disposal, goes up towards full forward, off hands. Chance at the back for South Fremantle to clear. Galt's gone towards the line by boot, and the ball over for a throw-in.
Well, it was very interesting, Glenn. South Fremantle started with 4 Aboriginals right in the goal square. Chisholm and all of the boys were down there, and Atkins in the ruck.
Let's check the Bulldogs bench quickly with Rod Willett.
Yes, thanks, Glenn. Daniel Dodd, Ray Smithers, Toby McGrath and Ashley Ugle.
Gasper wins the ruck contest from behind Turnbull. Hutchison gathers, steps inside Knights, and then proceeds to kick the ball out of bounds on the full. Kick into play by Holman on the lead. Ridley couldn't take it on the second attempt. Hand pass not great initially by Thompson. Not great the second time, but Holman wrapped up in a very robust tackle. The ball loose still. Ugle couldn't control it. Knights could, runs into Bottrell. It's a scrappy start here to the grand final, as you'd expect with weather conditions, as Rod Willett mentioned, quite slippery underfoot.
So the umpire coming in, and he's going to ball it down 50 metres out from East Perth. In fact, it's going to be a free kick to Paul Simmons. Or perhaps just a little overzealous there, one of the South Fremantle players. John, nerves will take their place in this grand final for the first 5 or 10 minutes at least. Paul Simmons, very experienced player. Troy Butcher with half a lead, but Simmons will come in and go for distance, gets plenty of it, right up towards the goal line and through. So first blood to East Perth after Devon Perry cleared the congested centre square initially. Paul Simmons has got the first one on the board, and you'd think, John, that he's going to have a big say in this grand final.
Well, he certainly will. His experience will be invaluable during the course of the afternoon. I'm just trying to pick up what was in there. Like, I didn't really see Simmons was there. He dragged the ball under. Maybe the umpires paid one of the South Fremantle was just a little bit over-exuberant and went over the top of Paul Simmons' shoulder, and he's kicked a fantastic goal from just beyond 50.
Paul Simmons, one of the best users of a football by boot in this competition. Turnbull up high, wins it down. Perry overrunning the ball. Gasper in over the top of it, knocked forward by Waller of East Perth. Thompson has his skipper Atkins collide with him. Perry looked like he may have been legged. Again, play not overly tidy at the moment. The ball being held in there, almost a rugby maul, approaching centre half forward for the Royals. And let's check the Royals bench at the start of the game with Rod.
Yes, thanks, Glenn. Matt Balchin, Kane Hayes, got Kane Munro and also Jeremy Humm. What the rain won't do is it won't stop the ball from travelling a distance.
Ball one down there by Turnbull. Again, South Fremantle desperate in defence. A chance here for Hutchison. Shunted off his kick there by Turnbull. Knights couldn't gather. Holman did. Squeezes a little kick out towards the members' wing. Sottering it off the ground there is Turvey. Has had a very quiet final series, Nathan Turvey. Chisholm throwing his strength around behind the ball there. Atkins taps it into the path. Push in the back. They're allowed the advantage. No, it will come back. Good umpiring because Turvey was under a fair bit of heat then, and they didn't allow the advantage to go. So Atkins will take the free kick just forward of right wing. Was pushed in the back as he propped over the footy. He sets it up into the so-called hot spot. Sampi elite, but in front Swan, back from a week suspension, couldn't mark. Brennan to clear for East Perth. They want it to stay in here because Simmons has slipped away in front of Tinsley near the boundary line. Simmons up towards right half forward. Buzan being held. Here's Segovic, the man infringing. They're allowed the advantage. They're able to go on with it here through Haynes, and he hits Ridley on the chest. Ridley, who started his WAFL career in Subiaco colours, would know this ground reasonably well. From right on 50, has the carry, but doesn't have the required accuracy.
Scott, that's a good bump. Right, that's a fair bump.
So Sean Tinsley with the football. Todd Ridley had no problems with that distance at all. Is a breeze of about 3 goals favouring the end, which is to the left of our screen. Galt has it, gives it back to Tinsley from right full back. Short pass is accurate to Rennick at right half back. His experience will be very important this afternoon. The Rennick kick falls a little short, nearly hit Hall in the back of the head. Here's a chance now for Gasper, releases the hand pass. Atkins put a hand up, but now it's Marley who releases it by left boot up to the half-forward line again. Perry Thompson bursts clear with short pass. Just couldn't find Rennick. In fact, did find Rennick, but he was very untidy with his marking skills, and untidy also is Waller, who went in very, very vigorously and took Rennick high.
Certainly did take him high. You'll see in the replay. Just got him on the shoulder. There was a little bit of over-dramatisation of the actual contact, but they've got the free kick. They needed to win the ball there because East Perth were away.
It was certainly physical, but we come to expect that from Andrew Waller. The Rennick kick just clears centre wing. Atkins was up there, so too Gasper. Plenty of height for South Fremantle, but no mark. Oh, and gee, Karen Ugle has gone in vigorously on Cowell, and now Travis Hall has something to say as well. And East Perth have given a free kick away. Well, I'm sure the umpire didn't see what initiated it. Hall came in where he wasn't really wanted or needed, but he's won a free kick. Goes short to Turvey. Hasn't had a terrific final series so far, Nathan Turvey, after an outstanding year for South Fremantle. Goes with the left boot beautifully to Scott Chisholm, who earns the jeers of the East Perth supporters. He was vigorous in his opening attack on the ball. Now his kick is very poor. Barnard put a hand up. Chance though still for South Fremantle. Thornton has it. Kicks early goals as a rule. This one he just doesn't get onto. He tried to grub it, I think, John. It didn't work for him, and it's gone over the line and out of bounds at left ball forward.
Well, I think he was in two minds then, Phil. He did have a little bit of time. You can see there the vision. He's looking inboard, and he probably should have just focused on the goals because he was running straight at the target.
He selected to go with the grub of the boundary throw in. Clears the pack. Chisholm was dragged down high. Well, the umpires, I think, see the need to assert their authority early in this grand final because it's going to be a vigorous one. And there was no doubt about that. Scott Chisholm was taken over the shoulders.
He certainly was, and young Dean Brennan was the man that infringed there. He's going to be an interesting player today, Scott Chisholm. He can be right in your face and he can frustrate the goodness out of East Perth, but they don't want to give frees right here.
Well, he let Travis Knight know he was playing in the grand final in the first minute of play. Now he comes in and kicks a goal for South Fremantle, which is just what they wanted. East Perth 1-1. South Fremantle, though, John, with a confidence-boosting goal, have really settled perhaps a bit better than East Perth maybe over the last minute or so.
Oh, they certainly have. You can just see here now Chisholm and Brennan just over the shoulder, a bit over vigorous, and that's the sort of impact that Chisholm can have, and he could be quite a dangerous player if he's left inside 50 with a couple of the other small Aboriginal players. Really cause a nuisance down there, I think.
So the opening goals for both teams coming from free kicks. Inside 50s at the moment, 5-2 in favour of East Perth, and this is making it easier for them. Too many men in the centre square in red and white. He's a thumping kick, Turnbull, that's no exception, up towards full forward. At the back, dropping the mark, Ercegovic gets a hand pass away to Thompson. He hand passes dangerously back into the corridor. Chance there for Haynes almost, but well done by Galter defence. Thumping it through for a force behind. Interesting today that the state team that was named this year, Ercegovic was at full back, and Buzan was at full forward, and they are playing on each other today as Tinsley goes short down the middle and finds the aforementioned Dean Ercegovic. Flares it wide towards Seagate in the outer back pocket. The rain holding off momentarily. There is forecast for more to come though this afternoon. Seagate for distance, Waller the big leap and pulls in a great mark.
Yes, he does like a flight as Andrew Waller. Now he gets on with it quickly, hurried to centre half forward. No mark taken. Hutchison threw himself at it, but so too Butcher for East Perth. And those two are going to share it. The umpire will sort it out with a bounce. Let's look at that one from Andrew Waller, Doro.
It's a fair jump. I wish I could have done that in my day, but they were few and far between, that sort of mark. But terrific. Eyes on the ball and had a good jump up at it.
The umpire elects to throw the ball up. The turf a little soft underfoot. Waller, after Buzan got first hands to it, but this is Turvey now. Goes by right boot. He's non-preferred. Close to the boundary line. In fact, it clears it. So, free kick to East Perth. This is Luke Webster, who concedes some ground. Goes laterally to Barnard. Barnard goes across the ground to Brennan, who's dropped off his opponent. Good effort there by Chisholm. Well, he conceded the free kick. He really didn't have any option. It was a desperate effort by Chisholm, as you'll see here. But Brennan, with his eyes on the football, was going to get the free kick. Now he goes down towards full forward, and Butcher, with the ball just clearing the initial contest, has taken a great sliding mark and should really goal from about 15 metres out on a slight angle.
You can just see there on the replay, it's carried everybody. He was in the right position. He's a very damaging player, Butcher, and he's a difficult one to man up with, Phil, because of his mobility and his size.
Well, his aerial skills are quite superb. That time he took it very low to the ground. He just ambles in casually, sends it on its way and hits the post. Well, not happy with that. South Fremantle letting him know that the effort wasn't good enough. And a bit of a let-off for the Bulldogs. East Perth a 1-3, South Fremantle just the 1 goal.
Plenty of free kicks early in the game too. We've only played right on 10 minutes and 10 free kicks already. 6 to East Perth and 4 to South Fremantle. Turnbull, the big fist down. Player tackle but not in possession. There wasn't much doubt about that, and Webster's got the free kick. In fact, Knights it is too far out to score. Wheels inboard. Goes looking for Big Buzan. The fist by Ercegovic at the front. Golt the rover. Gets the hand pass away. Rennick well tackled. Releases the hand pass towards Bottrell. Couldn't gather. And then we've got free kick number 11. And Simmons from here should be able to kick his second goal. Well, the right arm was up around the shoulder. The left arm was fine. It was down around the waist. But I think Simmons has done his best impersonation of Gavin Wanganeen there to contort the body and try to make the umpire feel that there was something very untoward. A lot closer, but about the same angle from where he kicked the opening goal of the game. Simmons from 40, stabs it low. Gee, you'd expect far better from Paul Simmons from there. And you wonder now, John, whether East Perth in around an hour's time will rue these missed opportunities. 1 goal 4.
Yeah, they've had some ordinary ones, and just his execution then was very poor when you judge it against his kick that he kicked outside 50. He kicked through the ball, he just stabbed at it then.
Plenty of Royal support here this afternoon. The kick into play finds Turvey, getting busy early, which will be good for his confidence. Rides the Simmons bump, now goes over centre wing. Thornton was the target, Marley gets back. Atkins will run him down in more ways than one. Now it's Chisholm. He's had a bright opening, thought about the hand pass, now goes with a chip pass, which is very clever to Hayden, who couldn't complete the mark. Webster's with him, prevails in the tackle. Now got the hand pass away to Antonovich. They fumble, allows Chisholm in again. Short pass was ineffective. Perry was there, buffeted off it. Chance now for Hutchison. In fact, he leaves it for Hall, who showed good strength to try and crash his way through the pack. Turvey paddles it up for Gasp with a high kick. Whistle's gone, and it's going to be the way of East Perth, is it?
No, Waller and Travis Orr having a bit of a fisticuff to the middle of the ground, fell off the ball, and Waller got one over the shoulder.
Yes, the umpire indicated high. He goes short to Turnbull, the Sandover medalist. From just alongside centre wing. Prodigious kick again. Great kick, in fact, because Cowell found a little bit of open space as the sun breaks through at Subiaco Oval. That's good signs, but also good signs for East Perth, because Ryan Turnbull is getting some touches, and none better than that one, John, because it's a terrific kick over distance.
Yeah, well, he's a lovely penetrating kick, isn't he? But Travis Orr should hang his head in shame. Like, when your side's got control of the football, as South did in that situation, he's hit Waller head, you know, over the shoulder, 15 metres behind the ball.
No excuse for these high tackles as Cowell comes in from 45 metres off the side of the boot. We're going to see a bit of that today. The ball has gone through from behind just. So another minor score to East Perth, doing plenty of attacking, but just 1 goal 5 to show for it. Still South Fremantle with that solitary goal. Well,
it's certainly been costly, these misses, and although you said, you know, like, you'll see a lot of it, I think the execution, they've got to change their mindset as Bobby McHale sits in the coach's box a bit bewildered by the 5 points.
Tinsley comes in and he get a hand on it, he didn't. McGrath just came on the ground 2 minutes ago to replace Perry Thompson. He probably should have gone out a bit harder. Butcher back towards his skipper. Barnard dangerously towards the heart of the ground, but Haynes equal to the task. Underground hand pass then towards Ridley. Gathers brilliantly. Cowell grab. No free kick. Loose ball to Gasper. He kicks awkwardly. Simmons was touched in transit. He's wrapped up by Rennick. The umpire will bounce right on the defensive 50 for the Bulldogs.
Well, Cowell seemed to do everything that Simmons did just a moment ago, Glenn, but no free kick.
In actual fact, to the naked eye, I thought that one actually looked worse.
I did as well.
No free kick though. Waller couldn't gather the ball. Hutchison hand passes away to Turvey. Plenty of free kicks early, as you can see. The kick now by Tinsley across the ground. McGrath in space. Gets a good bounce. Runs towards right wing. Kicks the Bulldogs towards Chisholm. Drops to his knees. Drops the mark as well. But a good shepherd by Thornton. Chisholm almost imitating Dale Kickett there, coming to a halt and then does not use the ball well. Swan back from a 1-week suspension, takes the mark, redirects to the outer side, and Wheatley goes short to the Sandover medalist. Again, Turnbull unloads the distance inside 50, and well, reading it far better opposed to Butcher was Toby McGrath.
Yes, they're going to need Toby McGrath's steadiness today in defence. South Fremantle started on the bench, but will play an important part this afternoon. You would think a very talented player goes short to another talented player. Also on the West Coast Eagles list, Gasper. one of the outstanding players on the ground last week, just pops it up high. Thornton went to the ground, didn't help his effort. Here's a chance for Haynes, sweeping hand pass to Wheatley in the clear. He goes with a short pass, but very inaccurately, and Todd Bottrell in the way for South Fremantle's taken the saving mark.
Hold there.
Already in the thick of things, the veteran Tom Bottrell.
Hold.
South have got no tall forwards to kick the ball to now.
Now we saw Chisholm with the same dilemma just a moment ago. Now Burridge is on the lead for him. He needs to get a bit more mobile. The Burridge hand pass, very casual. Well done by Haynes, who sockers it into the open. Once more Bottrell into the fray, sliding into the footy, and the ball sliding away from him.
The worrying thing here is that the inside 50s are 11-4 in favour of East Perth, yet if South get a goal, they'll be in front.
Certainly East Perth not making the most of the breeze at this stage. I estimated about 3 goals would be in it. Atkins got the knock. Now, East Perth player, when a South Fremantle player taken high, so Kieran Uger with the free kick. He also was in great form last week, goes for distance, gets a bit of it too into the breeze. The ball off hands, Wheatley sweeping a defensive hand pass, goes to Swan just across the ground, and now Barnard for East Perth, the skipper. Short pass, a bit of a grubber, puts Knights under a lot of pressure. He's got to recover, but did pretty well. Hooks it back into the middle of the ground. Under pressure there was Holman, picking it up though Wheatley. Hurried kick, just cleared the centre. McGrath met it beautifully. Now gets possession. The hand pass was under a lot of pressure, but Seagate does well. He goes by left boot, just inside 50. The ball cleared Simmons, and Gasper making another very promising start to the grand final, as he did last week in the preliminary, John.
Yes, he certainly did. Terrific effort, Toby McGrath at the other end of the ground, who left his opponent and set up that opportunity. Now, the wind's funny. Just a minute ago, it was blowing 100 mile an hour to the left of screen.
Yeah, we're used to see it swirling here at Subi Oval from just outside 50. Gasper puts it on its way. Well, no problems for Travis Gasper into the breeze. You can see that once you get it down around about 50, John, no problems with kicking goals there. So the South Fremantle supporters got something to cheer about. As Glenn said, they've come back with a quick goal. It's really put East Perth under pressure.
Well, he certainly did, and Toby McGrath worked very, very hard out there. Seagate and Nathan Turvey involved in it. But as Glenn made the point, now that's 11 inside 50s to East Perth, 5 to South Fremantle. South have gone through there, 1 point in front. Now, it's funny game football. I wonder whether that could have a deflating effect on East Perth. They've controlled the quarter in that regard, but are not in front.
Ball thrown up in the middle, neither Ruckman, Atkins or Turnbull really effective. Rennick claimed by Wheatley. This is Knights heading in the wrong direction. Hand passes awkwardly to the feet of Brennan. A high up and under towards half forward. McGrath, arms outstretched. Couldn't take the mark, miscommunication. In the end, Tinsley goes in and gathers the ball with the left foot. Goes wide to the logo on the outer wing. Hayden leaning around, the fist supplied by Webster. Hayden's hand pass misses the target. Atkins might have been better to try and bend down and gather. Hacks a soccer kick towards Seagate. He comes short inboard, and the reigning best and fairest Rennick has it. Good vision. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Kieran Ugle floating down the ground.
Hold there.
All of a sudden, South finding some cohesion from 55. Bongs it long. Double fisted away by Marley. Free kick. Which way's it going, East Perth? Over the shoulder against Gasper down there. That is free kick number 15 in 18 minutes of football. Marley, the recipient. The free kick count 10-5 in favour of the Royals. We see there the over the shoulder. Marley with the left boot. Comes wide to the members. Slides off the fist of Rennick. Waller and McGrath can't get there in time. We'll have a boundary throw in. Earlier today, of course, the curtain raiser grand finals. In the Colts, East Fremantle had a win over Perth.
Hands free.
The margin 28 points, and in the reserves, a massive upset. A 29-point win to East Fremantle. Subiaco had won all 19 of their previous matches this season, looking for a clean sweep, and 20 straight fell at the final hurdle. Wheatley sweeps a hand pass forward for East Perth. Chance here in defence for Burridge. Has players inside him, one of whom is McGrath. The next is Bottrell. Bottrell goes by hand then, copped a free kick. They're allowed the advantage after he's pushed in the back. Tinsley, meantime, has found Turvey. He goes to half forward. Gasper drops the mark. Hayden loses his footing. The hand pass away then by Hum towards the boundary line. And in the end, it is socked over the line by Luke Webster. And we'll have a boundary throw in. In fact, Munro, that player involved there, not Hum, and the ball to be thrown in.
Glenn, one of the things that South do, they go very wide, and they have to be very careful because East Perth actually rebound and then go down the corridor.
Yeah, Spinner, they haven't got a lot of kick to at the moment as Marley comes out of defence, throws it onto his left boot. Perry was there, now he dives on the foot. You've got to be careful doing that in grand finals or any match. The crowd calling for a holding the ball decision, but none forthcoming.
Butcher's coming off the ground for East Perth and is being replaced by Jeremy Hum.
Yes, just adding to East Perth's smaller brigade, going down there and being picked up by Toby McGrath, Atkins and Turnbull. Atkins wins the knock. Chance there for Wheatley. He has the ball trapped underneath him as well. Rod Willett mentioned South Fremantle's forward structure, John, but certainly we've seen already on a number of occasions players looking for leads but none forthcoming.
No, that's right. See, Sean Tinsley's playing a loose man back. I'm just trying to pick up the East Perth player. It's the one that's spare in their back half. Like Tinsley's got to maybe get up the ground and put a bit of pressure on East Perth that way.
Atkins again, but it's Sharks by Webster, hurriedly onto the right boot, skids once and over the white line. That was Jeremy Hum, as we mentioned, just coming on to replace Troy Butcher a moment ago. And Toby McGrath, who also started on the bench, but having a good game. 22,790 people in to see the grand final. Hopefully the crowd's still building. I'm sure it is. Turnbull palms it down for Perry, but sharked by Turvey, getting amongst the possessions. A short one though, taken by Knights, now to Simmons. Beautiful foot pass from Paul Simmons. Absolutely champagne football from a very experienced player. And into the sizable chest of Dean Buzan.
Well, there's not a lot you can do as a defender with foot passing like that, but they took the ball away from that ruck throw in around the boundary field just far too easy, and there was players, once again you mentioned, inside the corridor, and Paul Simmons' kick was fantastic.
Well, powerful man, powerful kick too, Dean Buzan. He runs to 50, distance won't be a problem, sends it on its way. Will it come back? It has. East Perth supporters behind the City End goals like it. And Dean Buzan, after a terrific passage of play initiated by Paul Simmons, have really got the Royals fans again on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, look, it was a terrific kick and a good confidence booster. You'll see here from Knights it was that just got straight through there. Nobody on the inside protecting that back door, and that was far too easy. And they've just got to make sure there's somebody's got to be standing between the goal and your opponent, so that you actually put up a bit of a wall that you get through. But Buzan, that'll be terrific for his confidence. He's not a great kick, and good for his confidence.
Kick 4 in the second semi-final. He's now got 52 for the year. This is Turvey, takes on and gets around Munro, uses the ball well across the centre line to Seagate. Seagate on the left boot, goes towards the attacking 50. Marley, though, will hold things up there from an East Perth point of view. He then played on, kicked into the body of Hayden. He was backed up by Webster. Grubbers a kick to the outer half-back flank. Well done by Seagate. He's played a very good final series, Andrew Seagate. This is Rennick. Gets away from Antonowitz. Gets a good shepherd then behind play from Hayden. He goes up to a squaring position. Gasper couldn't take the mark in front. Socket off the ground by East Perth player down there in Wheatley. Straight into the jaw of Turvey. East Perth in the end get it over the boundary line courtesy of Simmons and Barnard linking up back there in the back pocket. The sign there back to back for East Perth. You see Rennick there really backed his judgment. The last tackle he broke was that of Antonowitz, and he got a good shepherd behind play by Roger Hayden. The ball thrown in. Brilliant sunshine at the moment at Subiaco. Knights from the defensive 50. Kicks East Perth back towards the centre line. Marty Atkins, the only man home. The veteran South Fremantle skipper in game number 228.
Yes, he sends it across the ground to Tinsley. That's an untidy kick from Sean Tinsley. But Rennick has it, feeds the hand pass to Burridge despite the lunge of Waller. Burridge gets the left boot into it. Out wide again, as Rod Willett said, they are going wide, but Seagate let out way. And he's accommodated his teammate with a chest mark. Short again to Ugle. Well, they're going into the pocket. They really do need to straighten up a bit more, South Fremantle, if they're going to score goals. Well, Thornton and Gasper are providing the height down forward for South Fremantle, but East Perth are getting numbers back and really walling it off well. Too far out to score, I think, for Ugle, although he gets a good piece of that football right up to the goal square. Turnbull backhands it through over the goal. Fremantle's first of the afternoon there, 2-1.
Free kick to South Fremantle. David Antonowitz did something to Travis Gasper. He's going to get it right at the top of the goal square. They get the point, South Fremantle, but the goal that Gasper should kick from this infringement.
Well, that is a very, very critical mistake by David Antonowitz.
We're coming up to quarter time. There might have been just a little off the ball infringement, a little punch in the tummy maybe. But this is diabolical for East Perth, leading right up to quarter time. Gasper goes back and kicks a goal here, and
let's have a look at it, Doro.
There it is.
Yeah,
a nice little punch. Why would you do that right in front of the umpire?
The umpire was the next closest man to him as Gasper walks in, sends it off the side of his boot, but he was close enough for the error not to count. There's confirmation of it, so South Fremantle in that little exchange get a behind as well as a goal. Very important in the grand final, and as you say, Doro, cardinal sin. The ball is back in your possession after a behind's been scored, but you turn it around and give someone a free kick right on the edge of the goal square.
Well, I can imagine Tony McHale in the coaching box now would be absolutely livid. His fist would have been half broken, but Gasper's kicked 2 goals here, Phil, early in the first quarter, and he's interchanging with Atkins on the ball as a ruckman, and I think Gasper's got a lot of potential. He will really develop.
Ball thrown up again in the middle. Atkins tried to soccer it forward. Perry, and then Wheatley shoved in the back by Chisholm. The 18th free kick of the opening quarter. He could be on track for a record. Not much doubt about it. Chisholm looking like he was putting a saddle on a horse. Now Wheatley alongside the centre circle. South have flooded back in defence. Wheatley straight down the corridor, and Buzan, strong mark. It just cleared his teammate in front, Butcher, and Buzan with arms directly vertical has taken the mark. He wasn't troubled by distance from just outside 50. This time he'll kick from right on it.
There was a very, very good mark, and South Fremantle with one spare player down there, Tinsley. It was a poor effort by Tinsley and Sekovic then. Certainly Tinsley not to get a hand on it at all.
Hum coming off for East Perth. Cowell going back on from right on 50. He's blazed it well wide. Pack goes up, the ball stays in play. Chance there for Haynes. He grubbers it forward, but he's grubbered it forward for a behind.
But Perry Thompson off the ground in the hands of the trainers just for the moment, Doro. Now he's had a bright start, not only to this match, played very well last week, so South Fremantle just missing him in defence at the moment. Perhaps they need one more tall down there. One of their talls, Tinsley, just kicks it to himself. Runs out of right full back and goes for distance down towards Sekovic. Good punch from behind Butcher. Here's a chance. Turvey kicks it along the line. Breaks away from Waller, but in fact I think it was Hall who socketed that ball along the white line. There's Andrew Waller. Very, very vigorous and getting into the action early.
Phil, Perry Thompson just got another knock on that knee. He should be okay.
Let's hope he gets back into it. Turnbull tried to take it himself. Chisholm just chips the ball into open spaces, but plenty of South Fremantle players there. In fact, they got into each other's way. Hall was under pressure. Great lunging tackle by Devon Perry to force the error.
3 versus 1. You would have thought 3 would win out then, but there was no talking. There was a lot of confusion as to who wanted to control the footy.
Barnard hand passes to Marley. He's got some room. Goes by left boot up towards Haynes at centre half forward. Putting a hand up there was Tinsley. Cowell tried to soccer it clear. Hayden went to ground, but not before he knocked it out to Atkins. He's offloaded, and the ball again slews off the side of his boot. So good pressure applied by East Perth here to force the errors from South Fremantle. In replay, you can see the desperate lunge there from Marley. Now Barnard again has brought it into play. Once more to Marley. Short pass to Cowell. Just thought about playing on, but now Brent Cowell is called to because he just improved his angle slightly. One down by Bottrell, but releases the hand pass to Swan. Swan goes in toward the right full forward pocket. Diving there is Munro. Great mark taken by Kane Munro. Almost right on the boundary line with Toby McGrath on his hammer. That was a great effort. We see it in replay.
It was a sensational mark. Look, interesting replay there. Not sure whether he controlled it 100%.
Well, it did just confirm that he didn't mark it.
The boundary umpire had his hands behind his back, confirming it was a mark, so the field umpire was a bit blinded then.
Okay, so Kane Munro just stretching the hamstrings out. Hasn't played a lot of football over the last month or so. They're taking very deliberate aim from here. The ball, the breeze rather coming from his left, so it will help. Right on the siren, Kane Munro sends it on its way, and it has gone just to the right of the post. So a hectic first quarter in the grand final of 2001. Scores are level, indicating the standard of the match. East Perth 2-7-19, South Fremantle 3-1-19.
The huddle still being addressed by their respective coaches. The crowd around 23,000 here at Subiaco Oval. South Fremantle playing their third final this season, finishing in third spot. They overcame Subiaco. They defeated Claremont last week in the preliminary to earn a right to take on the defending premier. East Perth just the one final prior to this when they took a second semi-final in somewhat convincing fashion over the Tigers. Tony McHale trying to bring the best out of his troops for the second year in a row. East Perth looking to become the first club since the hat-trick of 82, 83 and 84 by Swan Districts to win consecutive premierships in the WAFL, so it hasn't been done in the last 17 years. We'll give you some of the individual leading possession getters in the opening quarter of football. The leading possession getter on the game, and this would give some heart to Peter Sumich, because Nathan Turvey, an outstanding home and away season, has been quiet in his two finals thus far. 8 possessions in the opening quarter, half a dozen each to his South Fremantle teammates Gaspar, Chisholm, Rennick and Seagate. Leading the way for East Perth, 7 possessions apiece to Wheatley and Barnard, and then 6 each, or 6 to Marley, 5 each to Haynes, Knights and Webster. South Fremantle coach Peter Sumich is down with Rod Willett.
Peter, 9 shots to 4. Are you happy to be sharing the lead with East Perth?
Oh, for sure. Look, they've missed some probably easy shots and probably should be a couple in front. But, hey, that's finals football and that's the pressure we're probably putting on them at the minute.
Peter, you're going very wide in your forward line. Is that to expose the pace of East Perth?
Oh, look, we know we've got some leg speed and we've got to make sure we use it up. And at the minute, yeah, that's probably part of our game plan is to spread them a bit.
How many goals do you think this win's worth?
Oh, I don't know. It's a bit swirly, but hopefully an extra 1 or 2 to us by half-time.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Well, Tony McCarthy was pretty happy with his players at the moment. He says, don't lose your keenness for the footy, OK? We've been better, we've been harder, we've had more of the football, but what we need to do is just finish off and kick the goals. He said, one thing you can't do, he said, don't doubt our ability. He said, we're better than them.
Rod Willett down on the boundary line. Both coaches talking the talk. It's whether their players can walk the walk is the important thing. Dean Buzan trotting down to the goal square. Dean Ersegovic still playing on him. Andrew Waller took a high flyer at right half forward for East Perth in that opening quarter. Galt on Ridley. A good match up there. Ridley somewhat of a goal sneak. Galt a very good defender at this level of footy. The ball bounced to get the second quarter underway. One down by Gaspar on the second attempt. Seagate held up there. Players dive in over the top at Seagate's hand pass ineffective. Now it comes out towards Gaspar. Awkward delivery towards his half-forward line. Marley did well. Used the body to nudge Atkins under the flight and then took the tumbling chest mark. He's got Waller free on the outer wing. Hits the target. Waller can play on. Onto his right boot he goes. Up toward Haynes on the lead. Took 8 marks in the second semi. That one didn't carry. Now back in defence, Tinsley. Hand pass to Ersegovic. An advantage free kick, no. Tinsley taken high after he disposed of the hand pass. And Tinsley's got the free kick at right full back. Sean Tinsley named at centre half back in the state team this season. You saw him in the background go to ground. He comes back to the corridor, and Ersegovic, who was named at fullback. So the 2 key defenders of the season. Down the spine from South Fremantle. That's a shocking kick, though, by Ersegovic. Tinsley runs headlong into Perry. Toby McGrath to try and rescue it towards the boundary line. Smithers has done well. Awkward-looking hand pass back across his body, but he found McGrath, who in turn has found Rennick.
Yes, Rennick from just backward of centre wing, called to play on. Good pass, though, from Darren Rennick, has found Hayden. Had a good match last week. He's in form. Swings it to a player who's been out of form, but getting amongst the possessions today. Number 9 for Turvey coming up. Prodigious one up to full forward. No mark taken. The ball comes to the ground. Hurried kick by Antonowicz. Maybe out of trouble, perhaps not. It goes back to Hayden despite the efforts of Holman. He sends it out wide. That's been the pattern of South Fremantle so far. Skids away from Chisholm. He keeps it in play. Perhaps for whom, however, diving on it there was Marley. Picking it up now is Barnard. Hurried kick from that player along the boundary line. In fact, it floats over the line and the fence into the crowd. And a South Fremantle free kick.
Sampi nearly took a nice mark there. He had a fair run and jump at it. He just couldn't get it on the second bite.
Can get up very high. Hayden gives it to Turvey in towards centre half forward to space. Atkins after it, so too Ugle. With him is Holman. That's a pretty good match-up. Off the ground, Marty Atkins in towards the goal square. It'll go back goalwards. Diving effort there for Gaspar for his third. Just couldn't make the right connection and he's managed to behind.
Marty must be getting fractionally older because he hasn't bent down a lot today, but but there was clever play just to get a boot to the ball. Had it tumbled over the right direction, it could have very easily have rolled through for a goal.
Paul Simmons it'll be to bring the ball back into play. 99 game veteran with the Eagles, splits the middle of the ground. Cowell didn't have to move, hit him right on the chest. Plays on now with the left boot, looking for Wheatley, making a great contest out there as Hayden couldn't take the mark. Wheatley the better recovery when the ball was on the ground. Haynes has it fisted away on the bounce by Burridge, and it beats Hayden over the line on the outer wing. David Haynes, who took 8 marks in the second semi, 21 possessions. Cheers to you too. Gentlemen seeing themselves up on the big screen, raising their glasses. Will they raise them in honour of their team in 3/4 time? Turnbull couldn't control it. Rennick soccers off the ground, comes back to him on the ricochet. Another free kick picked out. The tackle lingered on Rennick. Butcher's a bit slow to get up and a bit groggy as he finds his feet, but Rennick with the footy. The reigning best and fairest for the Bulldogs. Goes towards right half forward. Webs to the fist from behind Gasper. On the ground, this is Holman. Does well. Finds some space. Kicks towards the wing. McGrath brings it to ground. Turvey couldn't control it. That allows Munro in. He's taken high. He's got the free kick. Wants to get on with it in a hurry. Goes inside. 50 on the lead. Buzan threw himself at the contest. Took out a couple of Bulldogs in the process. And Buzan is marked almost dead in front and probably will be sheltered to a large degree by the stands at the western end of the ground. Dean Buzan, 2 bags of 9 this season, 1 against Peel, 1 in a televised game we had at Leederville Oval against West Perth. Has 1 this afternoon. Kick 4 in the second semi. He's not going to get his second there. It stays right all the way off the boot. And through for East Perth's 8 behind to re-level the scores.
Just a matter of how costly they'll be. Subdued portion of East Perth's opportunity there. Not enjoying these missed opportunities. The ball's brought into play and Kingsley Hutchison has accepted the mark in right full back. Will he switch play or continue down the southern side? He elects to go long. Gasper's down there presenting himself and presents himself well, taking a strong mark. Kicked 2 goals, has been very lively up forward but working hard down the ground as well. Combining with Marty Atkins in ruck this afternoon in the absence of Ricky Mott, who was injured in the preliminary final last week. Bottrell again close to the line. Marty Atkins was on the lead. With him is Aaron Marley. Marty Atkins just indicating that he'll contest this ruck contest. Gasper will stay a kick behind the play. Some excited Bulldog supporters happy that their side is performing so well early in the grand final. Turnbull takes it, couldn't get a kick away. Chance now for Devon Perry at his best in the clinches, but he can't keep this one inside the field of play.
Just hit a little bit of a flat spot now for the last 3 or 4 minutes. You just need somebody to jump up and do something special.
Always important, the first goal after a bit of a lull. Doro is Kingsley, does well in ruck, knocks it forward. Barnard again, well, call it a fit of the fumble, but he wasn't intending keeping that one in play at all.
See South Fremantle looking set to get young Ashley Ugle onto the ground, who would only be playing his 3rd game today.
Well, he might be the one to spark something down there too, John. As Atkins keeps his feet, comes out via Wheatley to Butcher. High kick from Butcher across the centre of the ground. Burridge did well to put a fist into it. He's met by Knights. Now creates space for Hutchison, who has run down, carried forward. No, he flicked it up. Well, the umpire was right on the scene, had a very good shot of it. And the free kick's going to go the way of David Haynes. Between the centre of the ground and right centre wing, Haynes goes out towards the half-forward flank, looking out there for Wheatley. It was a well-weighted pass and Wheatley's taken it, despite the efforts there of Burridge. Clever player, had a great season. Wheatley's kick finds its mark. Low in trajectory, seemed dangerous off the boot, but Travis Knights, never in doubt, has taken the mark right on the 50, about a 45-degree angle.
It was a very good kick in board, and the other one was Paul Simmons was in there, yeah, but young Eagles come onto the ground, and Scott Thornton is the player that he's replacing, so they're taking another tall off South, so they've really only got one tall when they play at centre-half forward, be it Marty Atkins or Travis Gasper, so they've got 5 very small forwards now.
Both sides have only added a behind since quarter time. Here's a chance for Travis Knights to break the deadlock. Sends this one well across the face of goal. It was a bit of a hook on that one. South Fremantle with the numbers in the air. The ball fisted back toward the goal line. Paul Ridley was there, keeps it in play. Here's a chance for Seagate. He sends it straight down the corridor. That's always dangerous, and Marley's taken the mark. Waller, I beg your pardon, it is. Not his first spectacular mark this afternoon, but he came from a long way back. Bad error by Seagate under pressure to keep the ball in the hot spot. And Waller made good ground whilst Haynes and Bottrell were jostling to take a chest mark.
Made life very tough for Tom Bottrell then. I'm not sure what Andrew Seagate was thinking. I've always thought the old goal line's your good friend when you're under a bit of pressure. Failed just to carry the ball over the line there, took the punt, but he went inboard instead of protecting the footy with the boundary line.
Should have gone to the flank, but Paul Ridley did very well to keep the ball alive for East Perth. Now they might reap the benefits of it as Waller comes in from just inside 50. Andrew Waller's kicked the goal that has broken that deadlock. East Perth go to a 6-point lead, 3 goals, 8-26 to South Fremantle's 3-2-20.
Well, it was a good kick from there because we've seen East Perth generally in their goal kicking today, Phil, certainly from the set shots, have really struggled. And the one before, I think it was Travis Knight's one, just prior to Waller kicking that one. His kick was a pretty ordinary one too, under no duress when you've got a set stationary shot on goal. But Waller's was a very good executed kick, and that's something East Perth needed to give them a little bit of an uplift collectively as a group.
So the deadlock broken, and the reigning premier back in front, Gasper and Turnbull to compete in the centre circle again. Play restarts, crooked bounce, allowed Gasper to run at Turnbull and win the ball down. Rennick soccers it up towards the attacking 50. Atkins and Marley, good use of the body by Atkins, allowed Chisholm in, goes short, running with courage with the flight, Sampi. That is an extremely courageous mark by Ashley Sampi.
And 50, I think.
He was an All-Australian under-18 earlier this year, or 18's player. What will the umpire do here? Just settling frayed tempers.
It's 50 metres.
I don't know about that, Glenn.
No, I don't know what the East Perth player could have done.
He could have done no more than what he did. In fact, what he could have done was taken him out and knocked him out.
Could have gone straight through him, and this is very harsh. Turning what could have been probably a 70-30 chance for Sampi to convert now to 100-0. He's dead in front, and he just ambles a pace and puts it through. And we're back on level terms. And now it's still a push and a shove down there.
East Perth want to be careful that something doesn't give South Fremantle another free shot at goal. But that's the nature of the game. You've got to remain calm. I think it was Brennan was the young player that came out. And look, he had no choice. You made a good point. He could have absolutely put him into hospital, there's no doubt in my mind, but let's not forget, not many people, like, you've got to make a decision. He competed. Sampi had enormous courage to do what he did do, and that's terrific from a kid that's only 17 years of age.
It doesn't say a lot about the courage of Ashley Sampi and his prospects as a player at AFL level as Turnbull knocks the ball down to the ground, but Smithers takes it for South and gives it to Tinsley, hooks it across his body. South Fremantle inside 50 again, it bounces onto the chest of Marley, hand pass to Butcher, he lays it off now to Swan by left boot down the line, very, very accurately to Waller, who has to play on, he's slipped. Hand pass goes to Perry. He hand passes to the line, it goes over. We talked about David Swan as we see Devon Perry there. Only got suspended for 1 week, John, but that's meant that he has missed 1 month of football.
Well, that's right, and he's playing, I think he is playing down the back pocket on Ashley Sampi, he's his direct opponent.
He's an experienced campaigner, however, as Gasper does well. Now Bottrell just got it to his boot. Smithers goes in to make life difficult for Turnbull. The umpire blows the whistle.
See, one of David's strengths is like he zones off and tries to read the play. He's got to be very mindful, I suppose, with Sampi. Sampi dropped off him to get the last ball, but highly skilled. He's got to pay very close attention to Sampi, because if you give him yards, he can really penalise on the scoreboard.
Awkward bounce for both ruckmen. It's taken now by Webster. He dribbles the ball off the left boot and finds the boundary line. As Glenn said a moment ago, an enormous upset in the reserves this afternoon, where East Fremantle, the underdogs, upset the previously unbeaten Subiaco, and certainly the underdog South Fremantle in the grand final have got a sniff already.
Yes, pre-game, East Perth were paying $1.25 for a win, $3.65 for Souths. As Knights on the end, the hand pass kicks to the attacking 50. Should have gone the mark there, flying across the front of the pack. Here's Haynes, heading away from his own goal. He's got Waller free in the pocket. Can't get it across there. Goes for a centering kick. Good mark by Buzan. While the ball was in flight, Buzan was on the ground. He'd actually fallen over, was able to regain his footing and outmark Ercegovic as Marty Atkins, the South skipper, comes off below as Perry Thompson goes back on. But Buzan, he'd actually fallen over and just regained his feet, held Ercegovic at bay with the forearm, and is now going to shoot on goals for his second. Dead in front to the three-tier stand, and he's guided it home. The Royals up by a goal.
Well, it was a good kick. He's, you know, his technique when he kicks, he seems to get under him a fair bit, Dean Buzan. But that one was a very good kick. It was a good mark. He just sort of he held his arm up there so that Ercegovic couldn't come back on him. He's got very strong hands, as you mentioned before, Phil. And interestingly, with Atkins coming off, Perry Thompson's gone on to be a mobile marking forward as opposed to Aaron Marley. And the rest of the forward line's made up of Kieran Ugle, Chisholm, Sampi, Ashley McGrath, and I think the other one's Roger Hayden on the other side.
It is, and Hall has come off, and Dodd has gone on for South Fremantle for the first time. Turnbull wins the knock. Fisting it there was Webster. Going in courageously, Tinsley, but a hurried kick out of the pack by East Perth, taken by Galt. The hand pass goes astray. Knights couldn't get it to his boot. Now he knocks it into the open for Ridley, one way then the other. Ridley now swings the ball high across his body, up towards the danger zone, going back Ercegovic. McGrath tried to force it through for a behind, I think, but Munro keeps it alive. Hand passes inboard. Buzan goes to ground, so too did Turvey. Chance for Simmons. He likewise goes across his body. South Fremantle with the numbers. The fisted ball goes to Seagate. Now this time he needs to go down the boundary line. Again, the kick not terrific. Butcher was there, but doing well was Gasper. Galt to Gasper. Stood his ground and gets the kick in. I think it was a missed kick, but gee, it went to Hayden. South Fremantle need a little bit of luck to get out of trouble. They've done it. The pressure off them as they can now go forward and set something up. Perry Thompson's gone onto the ground and gone forward. Couldn't take the mark. Kieran Ugle was there. Fumbled. And there's Andrew Wallace seeing the ball over the line and out of bounds. Certainly the spectators enjoying this grand final. 23,230 people now into Subiaco Oval.
Travis Gasper has a great football brain. There's no doubt about that. Ercegovic off, Hutchison on for South Fremantle. Ball thrown in. Neither ruckman effective. Dodd's hand pass knocked down by Turnbull into the path then of Cow. Cow gets it forward and gets it back from Antonowitz. Gives it to Wheatley. Goes towards centre half forward, South's best position. Burridge takes the mark whilst on his knees. Burridge now comes out wide, the mark taken by Dodd. Short lead offered along the boundary line by Hayden. He kicks over that player's head. Gasper the target. Turnbull can't complete the mark.
Glenn, some bad news down here for South Fremantle. Marty Atkins, who's been a star the last couple of weeks, looks like he's got a bit of a thigh strain, so hopefully we can come back from that.
They can't afford to be another big man down. Ricky Mott not passing a late fitness test. Wheatley, squaring kick to the heart of Subiaco Oval. Well done there by Bouchin, knocking it down towards Holman. Gives it back to Bouchin, goes onto his left boot. Penetrative low drop punt inside 50. Tween bowls the pack. McGrath has work cut out in defence. He concedes a behind from 15 metres out.
The crowd stand up and all that. The guy on there. Trust me, mate, if we put you out onto the ground, it's pretty tough. That's very friendly play.
He might have been a turkey. As good kick into, well, it wasn't a good kick, it was a low trajectory run, but it's been intercepted out there by Devon Perry. It was meant for goals. In fact, it is Webster who goes for distance, gets plenty of it, marked by Devon Perry. Almost on the goal line, he's drifted down into the pocket. He'll take his kick from almost point-blank range and should have no problem.
It becomes point-blank range on a very tight angle.
Yes, it does.
He's a left footer though.
Well, the Tinsley kick, I thought looked good off the boot, but well marked by Webster, who just punted it back into play, and Perry had drifted from the centre of the ground down forward. Now he just ambles in. Devon Perry makes South Fremantle pay. Goal to the Royals. And East Perth now move on to a 13-point lead. Pretty significant in a tight grand final. They're 5-9-39 to South's 4-2-26.
And it was a very good mark, as you'll see here. Devon Perry was the only one that had the ball coming in his direction with eye contact. The two South Fremantle defenders, with their desperate efforts, were never ever going to infringe upon that. And Marty Atkins, his loss now, as Rod said, if he doesn't come to the ground, it really puts a great deal of pressure on Travis Gasper for South Fremantle.
The unfortunate thing is Gasper can't be in two places at once. They need him in the ruck. They also need him up forward as a target. Turnbull with a backhanded thump wins it down. Webster couldn't control it. Chance here for Wheatley. He was wrapped up whilst on the ground. Webster now, as he falls, gets a kick towards half forward. Clever mark to Knights. The value of being in front. Smith is the man behind. Knights goes out now towards left, full forward. Simmons has taken the mark. Not sure it was actually intended for Paul Simmons, but East Perth will claim it nonetheless.
It's a terrific mark. There's a few worrying signs now. Seagard's Paul Simmons' direct opponent. And the other one that worries me just from viewing it is Troy Butcher versus Nathan Turvey. Nathan's not the most defensive player I've seen, and Butcher is very offensive. And when the opposition's got control of the football, you have to defend the situation, and Turvey's not doing that well at the moment.
Paul Simmons named on a half-back flank in the state team this year, looking for his second goal from left half forward. There he is again. Uzan's taken the mark, and it was the wrong side of the line. Behind there, off the boot of Paul Simmons.
Glenn, we're still not sure of Marty Atkins' injury, but they've taken him down into the rooms to try and fix him up, so it must be bad, worse than first thought.
More danger for South Fremantle. Hutchison under a lot of pressure from that kick into play. The Royals just swamping into the danger zone, looking to apply more pressure to South Fremantle, but they are rattled at the moment. You can hear the Royal supporters who really sense perhaps the taste of blood here, Doro. You can see how many players are around that ball. Devon Perry again the last up. The chant of East Perth goes up. The supporters really getting into the spirit of this grand final. The Royals lead by 14 points. Can they get another one? It comes out toward Barnard. The skipper puts his head down. Chisholm runs into it. South Fremantle desperate to clear this danger zone. Gasper puts his right boot into it, gets it almost up towards centre of ground. Wheatley goes back for the Royals. The hand pass goes to the ground, but Swan's there. Concedes a little bit of ground with a floating chip pass and finds Brennan. He goes out wide. Well done by Hayden to intercept it, but it bounces into the arms there of Barnard, whose good vision and good foot passes found Butcher. Butcher now, low trajectory, accurate bullet-like pass, and once again Devon Perry. Well, has Tony McCall moved him down forward? I'm not sure, but he's just lingering down in that forward 50 area at the moment.
He's just probably having a bit of a rest at the moment, and I think it was Roger Hayden on the other side of the ground. His effort with one hand is just unfortunately not good enough at this level in the most important game of the season. Lairising around with one hand, doesn't control it. The ball's on the ground. East Perth are doing what they're doing now.
Yeah, it would have looked good if he had taken it with him, but Devon Perry comes in, kicking on his second. No mistake from the experienced Devon Perry. He runs back to the middle of the ground, but I tell you what, his couple of sorties forward have been very, very devastating for South Fremantle. 2 goals to Ferry, and Peter Sumich biting the nails, perhaps down to the quick.
Well, it's good. You know, he doesn't have a great deal of flexibility. The only other tall player that he has at his disposal that he could contemplate moving is Nathan Burridge, who's actually playing half-back on David Haynes, the Eagles member. But if he goes forward, they've got to find another stronger, robust player to play on Haynes, who's very aggressive in his attack on the football.
Danger signs for the Bulldogs in the shadows of half-time. Cowell tries to take East Perth forward. Came out of the pack, though, without the footy. And the umpire will bounce it again.
Thanks, Devon. Thanks, boys. Thanks, Devon.
This quarter in disposals,
Straight out, boys.
48 to East Perth, 35 to South. They've outmarked their opponents 16 to 12. So things starting to run in East Perth's favour. Ashley Uga went up then against Turnbull. Ball on the ground. Cowell, a hand pass towards Turnbull, who drops to his knees. Cowell again, hand pass picked off though by Dodd. A hurried high left-footer towards centre half forward. Coming out Marley through his hands. At the back, Swan dives in on top of it. Gets a hand pass out, but only as far as Chisholm. Steps around Barnard. Goal square unguarded. But he blazes and misses to the left-hand side.
He did do that very well, Scott Chisholm. He just waited for the traffic to go around him. He got nice and composed, but he probably just had to step inside fractionally. That breeze just pushed it across from the left of the goalpost.
Simmons to do the kicking in for East Perth. scored the first goal of the grand final. Now goes down the middle of the ground. Clears the defensive 50, nearly a mark there to Ashley Ugle. Hand pass into the path there of Waller. He was run down. Chance for Haynes now. Goes back into danger territory. The hand pass doesn't quite connect. Turnbull has it. Gets the hand pass away to the run of Marley. He was run down from behind by Chisholm. Again, it's a line ball. Bottrell put his head down. Play on's the call. He expected a free kick, didn't get one. Now he's penalised for throwing as Cowell bursts away from the scene of the crime. Steadies, goes to right half forward. Not a particularly good kick. Devon Perry would have wanted it on his chest. He had some free room and Cowell just couldn't quite deliver. Let's have a look at the AFL score this afternoon. Essendon running out winners over a gallant Hawthorn, 11-10 to 9-13. The Hawks would not go away, Doro. There's Ugle in the action for South Fremantle. Swats the ball clear, running into it there. Well, together was Cowell and Hutchison, and a ball up for a result.
And Essendon will have everything crossed today that East Perth win, because last year when Jeremy Barnard held the trophy aloft, his brother Paul played at an Essendon premiership the week following. So they'll be hoping it's a repeat dose this afternoon that East Perth get up and the Bombers do next week. Also a chance, of course, given the outcome of tonight's game and this game, Travis Gasper and Darren Gasper both in action, one for South, one for Richmond. Ball towards the boundary line. Simmons keeps it alive for East Perth. Chance here though for Seagate. Goes back towards the line. The umpire calls for a throw, and as Turnbull is being rested, and coming on for the first time is Kane Hayes for the Royals. And Hayes arrives just in time to contest this ruck knock here with Ashley Ugle. Flying up high also was Tinsley. Stolen away by Wheatley. Squaring kick to full forward and camped underneath it, and taking the mark is Rennick. Plays on across the defensive goal mouth to Galt. Galt from right fullback. Goes out wide towards McGrath, the target. Waller comes in to join issue. Is that off his boot? It was. Flicked off the boot of McGrath. Off his left boot and has gone out on the full at close quarters. Waller's played on, but has to go back and kick over the mark. The ball, players unaware as Turvey streams away, but the ball has to go back to Andrew Waller, just forward of left wing. 24 minutes travelled. 19 points the margin in favour of the reigning premier, East Perth. Waller comes back in field to Barnard. Barnard across the face of the ground to Haynes. No one in front of him, so he plays on. Goes short and Butcher marks. Within scoring distance. 4 goals to 1 so far this quarter after scores were level at the first change. An accurate shot on goal here to make the margin some 25 points. As Haynes, the man who delivered it to Butcher, comes off. The shot on goal starts right, stays right. Almost grazing the goalpost and through for the minor score.
That with the removal of Haynes temporarily, it may create an opportunity for Sumich to get Burridge up into the forward half of the ground where he could provide a marking option to South.
Just for the moment, they've got some problems in the back half as Tinsley kicks the ball down towards half back. It was meant for Seagate. Punching it was Perry. Got it back from Cowell. Perry's in great form. Releases the hand pass to Kane Hayes. Just on the ground. Kane Hayes by left boot. Will it come back enough? Not quite. But East Perth really starting to expose some deficiencies in South Fremantle in defence, John.
Well, they certainly are, and South are under all sorts of pressure at the moment, and they've just got to batten down the hatches for a couple more minutes and just make sure that they can eliminate the pressure that East Perth are applying by not allowing them to kick 1 or 2 goals in the last couple of minutes.
Tinsley goes short down the corridor, flirts with danger, but he hits Gold on the chest. Bolchin just holds him up. Now he goes on by hand to Tinsley, confronted by Bolchin, comes back into the corridor to Bottrell. South's tacking out of defence at the moment. Bottrell goes wide to the outer wing, and it needed to be pinpoint. He found Smithers amongst a trio of East Perth players. Smithers now plays on, goes along the boundary line on the outer side. Gasper the target in front. Hum not paid the mark, crashing him down. Ashley Ugle. Roger Hayden gets the spillage. Squaring kick coming out on the lead. Trying to vacuum the ball up was Thompson. He went to ground. The defence dives in over him and will have a bounce. Fractionally inside. South's attacking 50. They need a goal here. We've gone past 26.5 minutes in the second term.
Straight out, boys.
And the margin stands at 21 points in favour of the Royals. Marley wins it down outside the defensive 50. Cow's hand pass ineffective. This is Chisholm by hand to Dodd. Dodd breaks the tackle. Hurried left footer. East Perth have the numbers, but it clears them. A great goal there to the former Peel player Daniel Dodd. And in the shadows of half-time, the Bulldogs maintain touch.
Well, there was a terrific kick from there, Daniel Dodd, just off a few steps, and that ball seemed to travel a long, long way. When he gets it, he's going to get it, as you can see, outside 50, and he still kicked it just outside 50. So the ball's carried on the breeze, 55 metres right onto the goal line, and had it not carried, East Perth were 2-on-1 down there with Perry Thompson, the sole South Fremantle player. But it was a terrific goal by Dodd, one which sadly was needed by the Bulldogs.
They certainly did need that one. Andrew Waller having a rest for East Perth. Paul Ridley's come back onto the ground, so Tony McHale making some quick changes. Up they go. One down by Kane Hayes. He won the knock, then socked the ball off the deck. Clean bowls. Ridley going back now is Gas. We're doing some good work in defence after kicking some early goals. Gets it onto his right boot, very, very high. Chisholm from behind made a contest of it. The ball at the front of the pack. Cowell got there first, was taken home. We'll get the free kick. The two 44s come in together, and the Royals 44 prevailing. Brent Cowell touched off the boot, I feel. That was the call from the umpire. Gaskell was there, but feeding the hand pass out. Perry gives it to Munro. Munro sends it goalward. Another goal to East Perth. Well, they've got all the answers, have the Royals, and playing a very, very integral part in all of this is Devon Perry, kicking goals himself, feeding hand passes out, and it's all productive work.
Certainly is, Phil, and you'll see the kick from Cow coming in. East Perth just have a lot of numbers. A good effort by Ridley to force the ball to the ground. It was touch ball play on, and Kane Munro very clean with his hands to get it at ground level, but more importantly, a very good kick.
Also, guys, the way Tony McHale's rotating his players, I don't think South Fremantle actually know who's on who. They seem to be just standing back trying to fill the holes instead of getting on a player.
Hayes goes at it with Burridge. Burridge wins it down. No one can come away with the ball, and we'll go through it again.
Well, it's a pretty good point that Rod makes, and they do rotate their midfield very often, East Perth. Maybe South Fremantle have just got to grab a direct opponent, lock onto them, whether their midfield or go and have a little of a run in the forward line.
Hayes times the leap better, wins it down towards Holman, who's wrapped up in a good tackle there by Kieran Ugle, and the ball to be bounced again.
Yes, I think when a team gets a break of a couple of goals, 2 or 3, John, you've just got to go man on man until you settle things down, sort it out and get back on even terms.
Still no sign of Marty Atkins either down here.
And use Bleak on that front for South Fremantle. This is Cowell. Hand passes to Hayes. Bounces a left foot kick through the congestion. That's a free kick. Hum infringing there. It won't come back to Hayden. Chisholm's allowed the advantage. Threads one to half forward and sliding in to take the mark is Ashley Ugle. Rennick's running down with the flight of the ball. Coming out from the other direction as Perry Thompson drops the mark. Kieran Ugle goes through. He gets upended. Marley goes down. Ball still loose. Sampy snaps, and he snaps inaccurately. Pulling it too severely to the right-hand side.
They're exciting when they get the ball, don't they? The young Aboriginal players down there and on screen. That man would have a lot of mixed, feelings about today. He was suspended for 2 weeks at the tribunal, lodged an appeal on Wednesday night, unfortunately. His 2-week ban stands.
Yes, he didn't look happy. That wasn't a good pass from Barnard. Well, perhaps the pass wasn't so bad. It was Knights who fumbled it, but they'll get out of trouble, East Perth, as Swan's kick goes to centre wing. And that is half-time in the grand final of 2001. The quarter went 30.5 minutes, and East Perth at the long break lead by 20 points. 7 goals, 12-54 to South Fremantle's 5-4-34. That margin, as I mentioned, 34 points. And East Perth, after being on level terms with South Fremantle at quarter time, 19 points apiece, have opened up something of a break on a bleak afternoon in September.
John, the players are taking up position here. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the last time the Bulldogs won a grand final, you were instrumental back in 1997. Can you see them getting out of this significant hole with Marty Atkins again coming to the bench? He may not play any further part in the game.
No, well, it's going to be very hard for South. There's no doubt about that. East Perth, you know, on the scoreboard have dominated in shots, so I think they'll end up winning reasonably comfortably.
There's the leading possession getter in the opening half, Rod Wheatley. 10 kicks, 2 marks, so 15 disposals for Rod Wheatley, who was the best and fairest last year with the Royals. So as far as his teammates go, Jeremy Barnard, the skipper, with 11 possessions, Cowell with 10, and for South Fremantle, a dozen possessions to Gasper, and then 10 each to Turvey, Chisholm, and continually. Although interesting, Phil Lamb, Nathan Turvey, just 2 touches of the footy in the second quarter.
Yes, a bright start. They'd want Turvey to reproduce the sort of form in this third quarter that he showed in the first quarter, because South Fremantle need to get quick scores on the board if they're going to get back into this grand final. Otherwise, it slips away very quick. 20-point margin to East Perth after the scores were level at quarter time. Dodd came through, but McGrath's there for South Fremantle, wrestled to the ground by Cowell, and so the umpire will come in and repeat the bounce down. Marty Atkins, unfortunately for South Fremantle, it may be looking as though they're trying to get him back on the ground. Ricky Mott giving him some moral support, just sitting to Marty's left. But Atkins, after missing the grand final a couple of years ago through suspension, will be eager to get back on the ground. Burridge palms it down. Rennick can take it cleanly, and again Perth swamping the South Fremantle player.
It's quite interesting. Devon Perry's just snuck out the back door here and is 50 metres in the clear on his own. So South have just got to be aware of that.
They certainly do. And Dodd getting back onto him now. Just for a moment, eluded South Fremantle's awareness. Turnbull went up, got a hand to it, but again, well, the whistle's gone. This time it's a free kick. The umpire, I think, sick and tired of calling for a bounce down. He's going to clear it all with a free kick. Wheatley takes it. So the first real disposal of the quarter, down toward half forward. Reading it off hands there was Swan. Breaks a tackle, but dragged down beautifully, holding the ball. And the youngster, Ashley Sampi, terrific tackle. He's done some great things in this grand final so far. Releases it to Tinsley. He goes down towards centre wing, and a good mark's been taken overhead by Travis Gasper.
Gasper, South's leading possession getter in the opening half with a dozen touches. Bombs this one high over the centre line. Turnbull the fist down. Knocked away then by both Rennick and Waller over the line for a throw-in. East Perth kicking with the breeze in this third quarter. They could actually open up a match-winning break if they use it well in the next half an hour or so. So the acid really on South Fremantle. They trail by 20 points. No change to the score since half-time as Cowell gives it off at close quarters to Waller, rides the bump, kicks wide to half forward, a pair of fours. Probably not worth much in the card game and not worth much there, because between them, Munro and his opponent Sampi, they've taken it over the line. See the breeze, people rugged up against it. Ball tossed in, right half forward for the Royals. Burridge up high over Turnbull, a convincing ruck knock. Bounced off the shins there of Turvey. McGrath to support him, a hand pass to Seagate. Arches the back, gets away, takes a bounce, goes towards left half forward, and off the hand there of a lunging Barnard, and another boundary throw in. We go back a week. The third quarter last weekend in the preliminary final, South Fremantle were held totally scoreless by Claremont. They still managed to prevail on the final siren, but they were 10-7 and leading quite comfortably against the Tigers at half-time. They were still 10-7 at three-quarter time. A repeat of that today, and they're dead and buried. Holman cleverly tapped it on to Wheatley. He squeezed his possession along the boundary line.
Now it's Cowell who releases it after getting a beautiful bounce there, taken by Haynes, left foot squaring pass into the path there of Swan, who's been released up forward. He's met solidly by Dodd. Tinsley now tracking the ball down toward the boundary line, takes it over, and on the full, well, he gathered the ball back in only to bring it back on his own boot. Quite bizarre, John Dorotich.
Certainly was, and all the hard work goes down the drain as Devon Perry has a shot on goal. We'll just watch here on the replay. Tinsley, well, it's come off his shin, so still counts that way, so the umpire's got it half right.
Devon Perry has kicked 2 goals. This is a very clever kick. He's got 3. Well, Perry, just such a clever player. He makes every possession count. He was deep in the pocket, as you saw, but knew the breeze was coming across him. Doro, he started it out to the right-hand side and just drifted it back magnificently.
Well, if all the young people sitting at home watching like that was a terrifically executed ball, like Tinsley unfortunately carried the ball over the boundary line, but you can see here on the angle, Devon Perry just starts it out to the right, and it ends up coming back beautifully off the breeze. You'd like to be able to hit him off a tee like that, wouldn't you, Glenn Mitchell, if you can speak?
I'm back with you. I reckon it was either the 10th or 11th party pie was a bit dodgy there at half-time. Ball back in the middle, and South Fremantle now under pressure. The margin 26 points in favour of the Royals. Ruckman split it. Chance here for Dodd. Could put South powerfully inside their attacking 50. Swan back with courage. Thornton coming the other way. Marley there in defence as well for the Royals. By hand to Swan. Back from a week suspension. Kicks out wide, but only as far as McGrath. South need to use it well, and they don't. It was intended for Tinsley, and Waller's taken the mark and is not in the best of health at the moment either.
Good work, Endo!
He's caught the Tinsley knee, I think, around the hip region. So he picks himself up. He's a tough character, Andrew Waller, but he dives in and bang, the point of the knee there right on the hip. He's gone on in turn now towards Swan. Swan comes out wide to his skipper. Barnard takes the mark, despite the best efforts of Scott Chisholm. Barnard almost an underground pass. Antonowitz not paid the mark. Kept his head, feeds the hand pass back to Barnard. Barnard back over his shoulder. Marley beaten by a fickle bounce. Bolchin couldn't control it. Chance for Tinsley. Hand passes the ball forward. Chisholm on the end of it. Hand pass to Thornton. Well rated hand pass to Galt. Thornton put down behind play. He's still down. Let's keep our eyes on Galt though as he shoots and misses. And Thornton is still face down on the turf on the members' wing. There was no whistle on the play. There he is. And now a player's gone down off the ball. It's Andrew Waller.
Yes, Chisholm again is going to concede a free kick here, you'll find, Glenn.
Let's have a look here at the Thornton incident. He went down very heavily. He hand passes and bang, Waller came in. To Waller's credit though, the elbow seemed to be tucked into the side and nothing seemed to be too untoward.
Meanwhile, the action is at centre-half back where Rod Wheatley has it. The ball's transferred across the ground. Wheatley continues that trend, gives it off to Webster. He goes down towards centre wing, in fact clears the wing. Again to that pair of fours, Sampi and Munro, but neither can keep the ball in play. There is Thornton going to the bench. Collected a heavy one. He'll be okay to come back on.
They just can't afford to keep losing big men though.
Yes, they've got three of them sitting on the bench at the moment. Another Burridge goes high, wins it down to Toby McGrath, who put a fist into it. Wheatley let Webster come through, did so solidly, soccers the ball again over the white line. Well, very important, Doro, that South Fremantle get the next goal. In fact, what they need to do is get consecutive goals, don't they?
Well, they certainly need to get a couple of results and have some very good positive moods forward as Antonowitz comes off the gun and Brennan goes back on for his berth.
Burridge does well in Raki, took it himself, now puts the left boot into it towards the left half forward flank. Kieran Nugels there, outnumbered, and eventually releases the ball. We'll see another boundary throw in.
It's probably a bit unsettling for David Antonowitz because of South Fremantle's move to get a smaller player being Ashley Ugle back onto the ground. It's a mismatch there and Tony McCall very quickly responds and gets the proper match up for East Perth.
Gasper wrestles with Marley. The ball again comes down to the base of the pack. We'll see another ball up. It's very stodgy at the moment. The third quarter, of course, is critical, Doro, in any game of football. Grand finals, no exception. East Perth have got the first one. They're kicking with the breeze.
They certainly are, East Perth, and it's known as the Premiership quarter, and at this point of time, East Perth are the only one that have got the major on the board.
The breeze has picked up down here too, guys.
It looks as though it has, Spinner. We just got a shot of the flags a moment ago. Marley pulled out of the pack. Here's a chance for Hayden. Played it cleverly, spins out of trouble, then back into it. East Perth have the numbers. They are desperate. Waller soccers it clear. Bottrell was in there. Now Turvey giving him support. Gives it to Tinsley. Chip pass to the unattached Gasper there. Well, Swan was just late on the scene, but Gasper just had enough meterage there, free, and was spotted by Tinsley, and there's the result of it. And surely, well, they desperately need him, Doro, to kick his third goal.
They certainly do, and terrific play by Sean Tinsley. Just sized up the situation, stopped and went back inside where he got vision out of the corner of his eye of Gasper all alone and put the ball in a very good spot for him to, hopefully for South's sake, convert a goal.
Has kicked 2 goals, 1. He's been a busy player. Very important kick this one as Travis Gasper starts it out to the right, and that is not the result that South Fremantle wanted. Behind only. So the game slipping away from South Fremantle. They need to stay in touch. 8-12, South Fremantle are 5-6, and the Royal supporters look pretty contented with the situation at this point.
So an even 4 goals in the grand final of 2001. Simmons to bring it back into play for the Royals. Kicks towards the members' side. Fists up at the back, Turnbull, by hand to Marley. Marley to Wheatley, almost into trouble. Hand passes towards the wing. Cowell gets a bad bounce. Then he's steamrolled down by Tinsley. Ball comes out to Turnbull. A hurried stand-start, drop punt, high towards half-forward. Haynes couldn't mark. Chance on the ground here for Butcher. Hand pass out towards Munro. Munro up towards the big man, Buzan. Free kick, East Perth's way. Or did it bounce through? It's a goal.
He socketed it. Buzan got contact with it, Glenn.
So a goal to Buzan, he has 3. And a costly miss at one end of the ground, a clever bit of play at the other. It would have been a goal anyway because Buzan had been awarded the free kick in the heart of the goal square. And now the scoreboard is getting very lopsided. East Perth by 30 points.
He showed remarkable balance and poise then under great molesting by Dino Segovic in the goal square, just to have the composure to get the foot to the ball. The umpire did award the free kick to him anyway, so had he not been able to get his boot on the ball through the goals, he would have certainly gone back, Phil, and kicked the goal anyway.
Burridge and Turnbull to do battle in this ruck contest back at centre field. Burridge gets a good run at it, but Turnbull wins the knock into the path there of Cowell, who gets possession, kicks from the corner of the centre square, floats it out towards left half forward, in fact left full forward. Butcher's there, he goes to his knees, cleverly feeds the hand pass to Haynes, who kicks on goal. It's come back. Again, the breeze has done the work for East Perth, and they are steamrolling south. Buzan excited, so are the supporters. 10 goals, 12-72. South Fremantle 5-6-36. So they have exactly, at this point in time, Doro, doubled their score, 10, nearly 11 minutes into the third quarter.
Well, look, he did remarkably well then, Troy Butcher there. Haynes' goal was a beauty, so you can see the strength of the breeze here. South Fremantle, they've changed it now. They had to get rid of Nathan Turvey off Butcher because Nathan Turvey by nature is not a defensive player. He's an attacking player with good foot skills. They've now got Daniel Dodd on Butcher. Still not sure whether that's the right move.
The good news is for Souths, Marty Atkins has just come back onto the ground, but is it too late? 72 playing 36, East Perth seemingly in total control. They go forward once again, not quite. Wheatley's kick was knocked down. Chance here for Smithers. Brilliant smother off the boot then. Perry diving across his boot. Ball knocked away in the pack there by Ugle. Still under a heavy weight of numbers, and will have a bounce towards the outer wing.
Glenn, I don't know whether you can pick it up, but Marty's definitely on, and but he's got a big strapping on his left leg there. I don't know whether you can see it.
There he is, Marty Atkins. See, yeah, it's a massive strapping all the way from the shorts down over the knee.
There's a blood drawl, I think, too.
Devon Perry coming off. He might have actually copped a nick when he dived on the boot just then to smother the ball. See him bleeding from the bottom lip. He's a fearless customer, Devon Perry, no doubt about that. He's coming from the ground to a hearty round of applause. Jeremy Hum to replace him. 10-12-72 East Perth in pursuit of consecutive premierships. South Fremantle 5-6-36, and in the 12 minutes of play in this third quarter, it's 3 goals to 2 behinds in favour of the Royals. Play restarts. Turnbull and Atkins. Turnbull wins it down with the left hand. Swan reins it in overhead. Tackled by Burridge. Slung to ground. Ball in dispute. South's a hand pass away there. It came from Burridge. Out towards Sampi. A quick kick across the face of the ground. The boundary line will be the winner. Earlier today, a shock in the reserves grand final. East Fremantle beating Subiaco, the undefeated Subiaco this season, by 29 points. In the Colts, East Fremantle defeated Perth by 28 points. Turnbull palms it down to Swan. His kick into heavy congestion. Players fighting for it with it on the ground. Knights may have been taken high, no whistle. The human pyramid is formed, and we'll have a bounce approaching left half forward for the Royals.
Looks like they've put Gasper to centre half forward and thrown Marty in the ruck.
So perhaps the last roll of the die as far as South Fremantle concerned. Marty Atkins just had to go back into the action. Let's hope, as Glenn said, it's not too late for the Bulldogs. Atkins tried to take himself, whipped off him by Haynes. He was dispossessed eventually. Still the ball trapped under desperate bodies. East Perth have it at left half forward, and South Fremantle just seem, Doris, to be so far away from goals at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, they've struggled basically, Phil, the whole day to get somebody forward of the centre that's strong enough to take a mark in a tough situation.
Turnbull and Atkins once again. Turnbull wins it. Sharks by Sampi. Released it straight down in front of him. Bottrell to Rennick. Rennick now gets the ball out toward the corridor. Burridge has it. Goes with a very short pass. The hand pass might have been the better option. Tinsley now onto the boot. Goes long. Gold has the run of the football. Bolchin giving chase. Bolt has it quickly onto the right boot. He was under pressure. Just tumbled it forward. And the ball has gone over the line at left full forward, but that was symptomatic of the sort of pressure that South Fremantle are under, John.
They certainly are. East Perth have been very good at that all day. He had a lot more time than he thought, really, certainly to get up and have a look up the ground to see what was available, but just gave it away.
Again, the two big men. Turnbull wins it, taken by Chisholm. Hand pass now goes to Seagate by left boot. He puts it up high, hoping for a high mark down there. None taken. Gasper's in there. Holman put a hand in as well. Desperate players. South Fremantle need a goal, but none forthcoming as once again the umpire will ball it up directly in front of South's major opening.
Excuse me.
So some of the crowd still finding some humour in this, perhaps seeing himself on the big screen. Umpire Fussell about 20 metres out from South Fremantle's goal. The ball comes down to Chisholm, snaps on goal and has just not gone the wrong side of the major opening, minor score only. So Scott Chisholm doing everything that he knows, but still it's not good enough for the Bulldogs to register a badly needed major.
So 3 goals to 3 behinds now this term. South's lacking cohesion inside their attacking 50. Simmons to bring it back into play from the shadows of the 3-tier stand. He pokes it short down the corridor and finds Knights. Knights now told to play on. He spots Waller. No, he doesn't. Well, he spotted him. He just couldn't hit him. The ball sailing over his head. And that was a bit sloppy by Travis Knights out of defence. Ruck contest right on the attacking 50 here for the Bulldogs. At the back, Marley couldn't control it. Gasper shunted to ground. Another big pack develops and will have a bounce. Looks like 2 of Dr. Seuss's kids.
The man had his tea party, Glenn.
Got a bird's eye view though, right down on the boundary line.
Right.
60 metres now, this bounce from South's goal. Atkins and Turnbull, 2 of the veterans of the competition. Turnbull has the better. Barnard couldn't drop it on his left boot successfully, supported by Cow. High kick back to the centre of the ground. Sampi up, needed a chaff bag. Went straight through his hands. Ball on the ground and will have another bounce. Ashley Sampi can make the impossible look easy. That time he made the easy look impossible. He should have marked that on his chest. He was uncontested. Turnbull flicks it back over his head. Munro knocked down. Clever play by Turnbull. Bouncing left foot soccer kick to the path of Butcher. He goes inside 50. Galt dives, couldn't take it. Couple of East Perth players overrun it, one of whom was Buzan. This is Chisholm. Cool head. Out the back door by hand to Burridge, gets slung as he releases the kick across half back, and Ugle takes the mark on the defensive 50 for the Bulldogs.
Sun coming through here again at Subiaco Oval. Accurate passes down Bottrell with a bit of space. Gets his right boot into it and goes towards the centre wing. Atkins couldn't take the mark. Now he's outnumbered. Through came Barnard. Jeremy Barnard will finish up with this. He feeds the hand pass back to Waller. From one step, Waller just very high up and under towards the boundary line once more. Play on's the call from the umpire. Very, very congested. The players getting tired in this third quarter. Can take its toll, and once again, the umpire's forced to sort it all out with a bounce. But Doro, certainly East Perth would be just happy with the way the game's being played at the moment because South Fremantle are just not impinging on the scoreboard at all.
No, they're dictating the game, Phil. The game's being played on East Perth's terms, not necessarily South Fremantle. So Tony McHale will be quite comfortable, I would have thought.
35 points the margin. Cow's been very busy. This time he's offloaded. And again, possessions, clean possessions, very, very hard to get.
I think Scott Chisholm on the other side of the ground, I think, got to pick it up. I think it's Knights, Phil, on the other side of the ground. He'd give him a little backhander, and the umpire saw it, and the ball's been taken off a 50-50, and it's been given to East Perth.
Yes, we heard the crowd's reaction. They certainly saw something. Cow with the free kick. Doesn't really use it. Dodd gets back in that pack and takes a safe mark overhead. We see it here in replay. Chisholm in on the first occasion, then came in a bit heavy-handed, I think, on the second occasion. We probably didn't see all of it. The free kick, meanwhile, is with Sean Tinsley at half-back. He goes up towards centre wing. From behind Gasper, no mark. In fact, that was Gasper. He got the hand pass away. Hayden accelerates. Hand pass is clear. Bottrell from one step. Goes very high to the half-forward line. Backing back with a great deal of courage. There was Bolchin. Couldn't take the mark. Smithers has it. Had it a long time. Eventually he coughs it up. Goes to Haynes. Just sheer strength gets him clear. Goes by left foot. That's terrific football by Haynes because the left foot pass has hit Jeremy Hum right on the chest.
Nothing working for the Bulldogs at the moment. Hum off a step, kicks towards half forward. It's ill-directed. Atkins knocked it almost off the chest of his teammate Tinsley. Meanwhile, Butcher gives it to Wheatley. The goal square's unguarded. They need a good bounce and they get it. Everything falling in favour of the Royals. Consecutive premierships now almost look like a foregone conclusion. The margin, 41 points. We're not far from time on here in the third.
Well, East Perth there, just a bit of a mess up there. Like Sean Tinsley probably should have called Marty Atkins back. Hum's kicked the ball here and Marty Atkins should have been left out of it. Tinsley should have taken an easy chest mark and the bloke to kick the goal, Phil. I know we've got 30 or 40 minutes to go before the end of the game, but he's looming as a likely Simpson medalist, I would have thought.
Busy as always, Rod Wheatley, and so much comes of his play. Turnbull gets a hand to it. Again, the ball buried beneath all those players. Devon Perry back on the field, another possible Simpson medalist. He's done very well this afternoon, kicked 3 goals.
Well, I'm sure Rod Wheatley will enjoy this a lot more than last year. As we remember, there's a blood rule now and Devon Perry's bleeding again, I would imagine, from that lip region. A pretty hard one to patch up if you've been knocked in the mouth there. But Rod Wheatley, as we all remember last year, unfortunately, I think there was a fresh air kick and he was in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yes,
got KO'd. Was a premiership player but didn't remember a lot about it, but he's been sensational today. And Paul Simmons is coming off the ground for a rest and is being replaced by Kane Hayes.
Yes, Tony McHale has the luxury of really shuffling his players around at the moment because they're holding sway in almost every position on the ground. Rennick gets a hurried kick, but it was just that out to open spaces. McGrath still a long way from home. Defensive hand pass to Chisholm, getting the cheers from the East Perth crowd. He's not their favourite this afternoon, he really is. The kick goes up towards centre half forward. Going back there is Luke Webster, a player whose composure really does belie his age. Now the ball's fired out towards centre wing. Munro couldn't take it. Swan split the pack. Hum had it momentarily. Now it's with Dodd. He just handballs it up and went straight to Perry Thompson. He was taken high, and fortuitously South Fremantle will end up with a free kick. Perry Thompson been on and off the ground. Has a niggle with one knee. Gets it on towards Dodd. Dodd into the path of Tinsley. Can he take the mark? He can. Well, used up back, used up forward. He's been one of their best players all year. And this afternoon in the grand finals, no exception. I don't know how many goals he's kicked this year, but certainly state centre half back. Had a terrific season. Wouldn't have kicked many goals at all. If ever he's going to kick one, this is the time to give South Fremantle just some confidence to get back into this action. Goes for the spiral torpedo punt. It is a massive kick, not going to score, however. Big pack down there, South Fremantle hands. It's been marked by Karen Ugle. Very, very acute angle, difficult one to take. Not the tallest player in that pack, Doro, but gee, he played it well.
Well, he's just pushing and shoving, and if we saw a replay, you'd see him with his hands at the back just pushing. Difficult angle. He's a right footer, he should go for a check side, so very skillful. He gives himself a fair chance to kick a goal.
Well, we're going to get a bird's eye view of this one. Kieran Ugle with our cameras right behind him. Grant Holman working the mark. Ugle goes for the check side, but does not get it to banana back anywhere near enough or early enough. It's gone straight across the face and out of bounds on the fall.
And Marty Atkins is coming off the ground. Obviously, the injury is not that well, and Scott Thornton is replacing him.
Hum kicks right back to the defensive goal square, finds Turnbull. Turnbull short down the middle. Swan wants to play on. Hand passes under a bit of pressure in the end to Holman from the defensive 50. Swings play towards the members' side. Haynes takes the mark and plays on. Buzan's on the lead. Haynes has taken a bounce. The delivery's not good. Ercegovic will lead Buzan to the ball. He'll want the boundary line. Buzan pushing the back. Getting rid of Ercegovic illegally. And Dean Ercegovic, the state full-back, being pushed in the back by this year's selected state full forward, and not much doubt about it. Ercegovic has played on meantime to Galt, and Galt's kick is a shocker. Missed Tinsley by 8 metres and has gone out of bounds in the outer back pocket. David Galt knocked unconscious a couple of minutes into the first semi by Subiaco's Peter Bird, who will miss the start of next season, having been suspended at the tribunal. Hayes wins it down. Ridley couldn't gather. Galt's at the bottom of this pack and will have a bounce. 41 points the margin. Souths have only kicked 37 in aggregate this afternoon. Could be a very long last quarter for the Bulldogs. Tinsley taken in a standing tackle there by Hum. And eventually gets him to ground. The ball to be bounced again. Inside. The Royals attacking 50. It's wonderful what a big screen will do when people see themselves up there. Ball bounced again. Haynes goes up, won it down. The umpire's gone to ground. He's back on his feet. Cow gets a hand pass away, knocked down, and ends with Bottrell. He gets an awkward kick towards the centre of the ground. Waller there, couldn't take the marker post to Rennick. Turnbull gathers, breaks the tackle of McGrath. Hand passes to his skipper Barnard. Forced onto his left side, goes short. Hayes drops the mark. Seagate goes in, tackled. Hand passes away to a teammate in Thompson. Gets onto his preferred left boot. It's a good kick. He finds Chisholm. Another chorus of hoots and jeers as Chisholm goes inside 50. Thornton on the lead. Brennan the spoil. Chance here now for Hayden. Can't get it to bounce favourably. Brennan is in there. Knocks it away. This is Thornton. Falling hand pass towards Tinsley. A high kick awkwardly. Floating deep to right. Fall forward. Oh, surely a free kick, and it is. Rennick retarding Luke Webster, and Webster got the free kick at left full back for the Royals.
Just had a fair hold of his jumper there, Darren Rennick, as you can clearly see.
Webster goes laterally to Holman, but I think the ball is going to go back to Webster.
Blood rule again. I think I'm just trying to pick up who it is.
It's Cowell
Brent
coming off.
Cowell. Yeah, it's coming off. Paul Simons is coming on.
So the ball is with Luke Webster. There we see Brent Cowell, who's been a busy player, going to the bench to get patched up. Webster, like so many of the East Perth defenders, just playing the percentages, playing it very coolly. Daisy cut off for Simmons, puts him under pressure, but he's good enough to get his left boot onto it, high up and under, into the centre square. This is Ashley Sampi, looks very composed as he goes by left boot up towards full forward. Chance there for Ashley Ugle, just couldn't make it stick, desperate to get possession. But he can't do that as Brennan for the Royals clears with a short pass to Wheatley, and once more East Perth out of trouble. Rod Wheatley, who so often puts defence into attack. Munro's there. I thought he was held on to. No whistle. Play on's the call. Eventually the umpire will be called to come in any case and bounce it up.
Thank you.
Well, what can South Fremantle do, Dora? I'm sure that's the question that's being tossed around in the South Fremantle coaches box at the moment. The Royal supporters just full of it at the moment because they can sense a premiership, consecutive premierships, hasn't been done for a long time. The action on the outer side of the ground, Munro just tried to force the ball forward, made a couple of metres before it went over the white line.
Well, it's going to be a tough ask for the Bulldogs, there's no doubt about that. Phil, they just need somebody to stand up, and I'm not sure who that person would be. They've really struggled today to play on terms with East Perth.
Injuries haven't been kind to them. Burridge spins out of the pack with the football, gave it to Bottrell. High kick. For distance, holds up a little bit in the breeze, but it's been marked by Ashley Ugle. They just need a bit of magic from him. He's capable of it, goes with a short pass, had to be inch perfect, it was, and it's been marked by Hayden. Perhaps too far out to score. I think he knows that, tries to go around the man on his mark, but Webster does well, holds him up. Ugle a chance now, but Webster to relieve pressure again for East Perth, earns the applause of his supporters, sends it out wide. Here's Knights and Smithers, Smithers and Knights. Smithers from the ground, from ground level, knocks it toward the boundary line, and then Travis Knights takes it over. So once again, a good result for East Perth. South Fremantle trying to go forward, but again, it all came to nothing. And Peter Sumich, well, looks a forlorn figure in the coach's box.
Can't see the Bulldogs extricating themselves in this position. Gasper stood tall, clean possession. Then Thompson and Turvey get in each other's way. Wheatley taken high. Surely the umpire says no. Turvey gets away with it and will have a bounce on the member's wing.
He's just come back onto the ground. Nathan Turvey replacing Roger Hayden. And Rod Wheatley worked pretty hard here, and Nathan Turvey give him a bit of a headlock. That should, by all accounts to the law, be deemed as around the neck, but missed out. And Tonowitz is coming on for the Royals and Turnbull having a rest.
Chisholm, put up the elbow to fend away on Kane's. Lucky to get away with that, Scott Chisholm. You often see that penalised when a player braces himself for contact by raising the forearm when the ball's tucked under the other arm. Chisholm getting away with it. There's the 2001 Sandover medalist, Ryan Turnbull. Looks like he'll join a rather elite and select group of winning a Sandover medal and a premiership medallion in the one season. Ball on the members' wing. 29.5 minutes travelled in this third term. And Tonowitz and Gasper won it forward, clever by Smithers, but he tapped it behind Bottrell. Simmons kicked into the body of a teammate in Webster. Knights then gets the hand pass to Wheatley. Stand-start torpedo at the back of the pack. Samby waits the hand pass inboard. Tinsley sweeps one down towards the wing. This is the big man Gasper, hard up against the boundary line, ill-directed, and Barnard, the East Perth skipper, marks it left half-back.
Absolutely no one to go to on that occasion. Barnard, no problems taking the mark, lays it off to Butcher as the siren goes. Great core up the third for East Perth, keeping South Fremantle to just 3 behinds, and at three-quarter time the Royals lead 11 goals 12 78 to South Fremantle's 5-7 37. The margin is 41 points.
An iron grip at the moment on consecutive premierships for East Perth. They lead by 41 points, 11-12 to 5-7. In that quarter, 4 goals they kicked. South Fremantle adding just 3 behinds. So the third quarters have been pretty bleak. In the last 2 third quarters at South have played, they've kicked 3 behinds in an hour of football. Perry and Buzan, 3 goals apiece for East Perth. The only multiple goal scorer for the Bulldogs is the big man Travis Gasper with 2. The aggregate stats with a quarter remaining in the 2001 WAFL season. If we aggregate the stats there, kicks and handballs, not a lot in it, certainly nothing much in the marking area. 25 free kicks to 14, probably by virtue of East Perth being in front more often, and the inside 50s, 37 to 29. So look at the quarter by quarter scores. Just the start we wanted to the game with an even footing at quarter time, but it was then a 20-point lead to the Royals at the long break, and they've now more than doubled that. They're out by 41 points with a quarter remaining. Should offer our congratulations once again to our last game day ball recipient for the season, Daniel Del Prete from Morley. Able to tell us Ryan Turnbull was the winner of this year's Sandover medal. And he's going to be the recipient, John Dorotich, it looks like, in around half an hour of another premiership medallion as well.
Well, that'd be terrific for him, and it doesn't happen very often. And I think premiership medallions, they come along to only a very rare few people. It's quite interesting. East Perth, look, deservedly so, are in a position that they are at the moment. Like, they're leading quite comfortably. South Fremantle, they've kicked 3 points in the third quarter, so they've basically had a mirror image of last week's third quarter against Claremont when they didn't score, and that's a worrying sign for them as a group. But East Perth were quite very good in that quarter. They got their accuracy on the scoreboard early on. They'd been very missy with their shots on goal in the first and second quarter, but 4 goals straight in the third quarter. And South Fremantle, you know, would have to do something absolutely miraculous. You would think it's beyond them with the group that's out there, because they just don't have a forward structure, Phil, that look like threatening to kick 7 or 8 goals in a quarter of football.
Yeah, Ricky Mott was a bad loss coming in, and then Marty Atkins has virtually been on one leg since midway through the second quarter. They threw him into the fray for about 10 minutes in the third term, but I doubt whether we'll see Marty Atkins in action in the final quarter now, and it looks like certainly the game is beyond the grasp of Peter Sumich and South Fremantle. You haven't heard earlier today in the AFL, Essendon booking another grand final berth with a tight win, a 9-point margin over Hawthorn before a capacity crowd at the MCG. Tony McHale, what an incredible 5 years it has been for him. He's on the brink now of winning his 3rd premiership in 5 years, and what is his 5th consecutive grand final, and he's taken in that 5-year period 3 different clubs to grand finals: East Fremantle, South Fremantle, and now for the 2nd year in a row, East Perth. Devon Perry, who's been troubled by a blood nose or blood lip throughout that 3rd quarter. He made 2 visits to the blood bin, is back in action. Brent Cowell, also his East Perth teammate, has a significant bandage around his forehead. He got a nick above the eyebrow during the 3rd quarter. He's been patched up though. You just wonder though whether South Fremantle can patch up what have been a number of deficiencies, in particular forward of the centre line in this last quarter. If you haven't heard, earlier today, the winners of the Colts and Reserves, East Fremantle on both occasions. East Fremantle over Perth by 28 points in the Colts, and in the Reserves an incredible result. Subiaco had won 18 home and away games, had won the 2nd semi, were looking to clean sweep the season with their 20th consecutive win, and they were beaten too by the Sharks. The margin there, 29 points, and there's Marty Atkins. I wonder if this is his last game. It's game number 228. It'll be a sad way for a decorated footballer, a Simpson medalist at state level, a veteran of 6 state games. It'd be sad, John, to see if this was the way his career concluded.
Oh, look, he's got a lot of durability, Marty. It wouldn't surprise me, Glenn, to see him play on next year, like with the police force, with his job. He was in the country for a while. Certainly in 1999, he was driving up from training. It's a fair trip, a round trip, 8 hours or something like that. He used to come to training, get home about midnight or something like that, Phil, and man a police station up there. And he's now up in the metropolitan area, I think down Kwinana district or the Rockingham district. And look, you'd hope it's not his last year, because he does have a tremendous amount to offer the football club with his enthusiasm, and also the support and development for the younger players that are in this group.
We'll go down to Rod Willett in a moment. Rod Wheatley is still the leading possession getter in the game with 22 for East Perth. 18 then to Cowell, who came off with the blood rule in that 2nd quarter, and 15 to Paul Barnard. Jeremy Barnard, I should say. We back up with more stats in a moment. Tony McHale, the East Perth coach, down with Rod.
Tony, last quarter, 39 points. You must be feeling reasonably confident.
Oh, never confident. The game's not over yet. Still got a long way to go.
Now, Tony, one last quarter. How do you want the players to play this out for you?
Same way they've played it all season. They've been very committed. They've been hard at the footy. They've really stuck to what our process and game plan's been. If they can do that for the last 30 minutes, hopefully we'll have a win.
Thanks very much, Tony. Now, Peter Sumich, not as happy as he just wants them to fight the quarter out. We've got the win. We've got to give it our best shot. Let's get our hands on the footy.
Let's see if they can get their hands on the footy. Hutchison can't at the back, neither can Cowell. Chisholm tracks it along, then loses his footing. Buzan with strength, hand passes towards Perry. He's already kicked 3. Can he snap his 4th? He won't there. Putting it out of bounds on the full. And just continuing the leading possession getters for South Fremantle with a quarter remaining. Tinsley 19, Gasper 17 and 16. Make it 17 now to Scott Chisholm. And the official crowd posted a moment ago, 23,842. The league expecting around 30,000. They'd be disappointed then with that outcome. Turnbull claims the mark at the back. The umpire says no. This is Ugle now, who gets a quick kick forward to the outer wing. Dodd the mark, the hand pass on to Rennick. That's what Souths have to do to have any chance. Just run as best they can for half an hour. Marley taps it forward. Perry slides in. Waller hanks it off the ground with the right boot. The ball bobbles its way towards left half forward. Hutchison off the ground towards the outer wing. The boundary line looming. And it is the winner. We'll have a throw in.
Glenn, what Tony McHale didn't tell us is that he actually mentioned the 1974 grand final that he played in, and how he lost it and how it lived with him for the rest of his life. So some inspiration from the coach.
Turnbull opposed to Gas, but the ball comes down to the front of the pack. In goes Perry, where he has been so often this afternoon, trying to work the ball clear, but it's very difficult to do. So many players around the ball. Darren Rennick there with some advice for the umpire, Paul Simmons, who's had another good match. It's been a terrific season from Simmons. 99 games with the West Coast Eagles, formerly a West Perth player, but now one would think within about 25 minutes of receiving a premiership medallion, playing for East Perth. Gasper got the hand pass to Seagate, ran back into trouble. Now he's dispossessed. In goes Sampi, the hand pass nearly came back to him. Travis Knights from right up hard against the boundary line, keeps it in play, went to Gasper. He feeds Bottrell, the hand pass now to Perry Thompson, unloads with that long left foot of his toward full forward. Coming out on leg there was Toby McGrath, but equal to the task with the punch was Jeremy Barnard, the skipper, who forces the ball over the line and out of bounds. So South Fremantle forward, but still not looking like scoring. The ball is swatted straight down to Swan. Perhaps rain starting to fall here at Subiaco Oval. That's going to further dampen any prospects South Fremantle might have. Travis Knights was a little bit slow. Chisholm did extremely well to run him down from behind. Here's a chance for Haynes as he fell. He got the hand pass out to Waller. That was touched off his boot. Smithers a chance. Wrapped up in a Knights tackle. The ball is released though for Rennick, who shrugs one tackle onto his right boot. Doesn't get much of it. Holman slips over, C gets slick with his hand pass. Turvey will score here. Turvey from 35 metres out.
Hit the post.
Has hit the post. Well, as the rain starts to come down, things certainly not going. There's confirmation of it. Nothing happening for South Fremantle. Turvey errant with that kick. And it's been a long time since South Fremantle have kicked a goal.
The post still resonating from it being hit flush on by Nathan Turvey. Simmons goes to retrieve the ball. Patrons, meantime, scatter and go back to try and get under cover. Well, not all of them. There's some hardy souls out there who still want to sit out in the rain and support their team all the way to the line. Simmons, who was a member of the 1999 Premiership team with West Perth, goes short back into play. The mark taken by Wheatley. Rod Wheatley chips it over the man on the mark. He set Turnbull a pretty difficult task there. Smithers able to get up and spoil him. The ball eventually trickles over the line. Swan and Dodd have a point of the index fingers at each other. All David Swan needs to do is point at the scoreboard rather than his opponent, Daniel Dodd. Turnbull flicks it down. Chisholm went through without it. Smithers can't get it away cleanly. Perry pushed in the back, in fact taken high according to the umpire. And Devon Perry will take the free kick.
Looks a bit like Hannibal Lecter.
It's scary, isn't it? Devon Perry goes up towards centre half forward. Haynes is there, couldn't rein it in with the left arm. Bottrell knocked off the ball. Haynes with strength. Hand passes to the path of Munro. Gathers, shoots on goals for his second at that Subiaco end from 45 metres. He's got it home. Munro has two. And East Perth, I think, are starting to ice the premiership cake.
Well, that's his second goal, Kane Munro. He's kicked both of them at that end of the ground, the second and the final quarter, and both of them were almost mirror images. You'll see here when the ball does spill out, he was very good at ground level. He picks it up nice and clean, good poise and balance, and it's just, look, at the end of the day, finally the skills. East Perth have been a lot more cleaner with the ball than South Fremantle has, and it's been illustrated there with Munro's finish on goal.
Some of their bullocking work's been superior as well. It was David Haynes with his strength that got it out to Munro. Burridge, in fact Gasper it was, who got it to Rennick. Hurried kick from Rennick down towards half forward. Marley runs it hard at the footy as he normally does. Floats it out wide to centre wing. Waller's there for the Royals. Feeds the hand pass on forward of the play. Wheatley accepts it on the run. He goes by left boot up to the half forward line. Ridley had a quiet day. Took it cleanly, however, on the half volley. Chance now for Knights. Feeds the hand pass back to Wheatley. Another possession coming up. Centering pass. Webster on the end of it. Did well. Created beautifully. And the finish by Rod Wheatley, as you would expect from a player of his class, was quite superb.
I wouldn't imagine Luke Webster's kicked too many goals, and look, it'd be terrific for the young boy if he could turn around now and kick a lovely goal. But good skills again by Wheatley, you mentioned, Phil.
He's had a very good match as Luke Webster. Add some icing to his own personal cake. If you're able to convert here, he can't. He just hooked it slightly, so minor score only. But East Perth still very dominant on the scoreboard as they are on the football ground. 12-13 leading Souths 5-8.
I hope there's a head under that. Waiting for the kick back into play. Ashley Sampi, given the duty this time, goes towards centre half back. Haynes up over Burridge, couldn't mark. Shin forward by Rennick, who'll follow it up. Sockers it forward to the centre circle, make it 3 times, and it looks like Scotty Chisholm, I thought he might have twinged a hamstring as he tried to stop the ball there. Turvey gets a hand pass in the general direction of Rennick, who receives the hand pass not quite from Thornton. He was barreled down. This is Butcher in the last line. Hand passes to Barnard. Barnard comes out wide. Perry will take the mark, can go on. He's told now he has gone on. That'll be holding the ball. Free kick to Scott Chisholm. Perry knew that he had a player free on the members' wing. He saw him and wanted to go on, and was then held up by Scott Chisholm, who's 2 kicks from the goal line. He sets it up. Out comes Tinsley, fisting the ball away. It falls in the waiting arms of Simmons. He hoists it towards the members' wing, through the hands of Hall. Sampi at the back. That's a kick that's almost a 50-50 job into the middle of the ground. Burridge gathers a hand pass out the back to Smithers. By hand in turn to Hall. Hall gets a quick kick away, but it's very indirect footy by South Fremantle. Munro knocks it down. Within there is Sampi. Sampi in front playing for the free kick. Does brilliantly. Hand passes now towards Seagate. Seagate can go out wide. Getting a hand on the hand pass was Holman. And now McGrath's beaten to it by Butcher, who feeds backwards towards Wheatley. Wheatley goes short and Knights on the end of it.
Yes, again, East Perth just playing the percentages, making fewer errors. Knights, hand pass, Wheatley can set something up here again for East Perth. Wheatley from the outer wing, southern side of the ground, goes to half forward, but on that occasion he does waste it, and Travis Gasper in the best position is marked. Told to pick it up and get on with it by the umpire. Gasper with the defensive 50-metre line at his back, goes toward that southern wing again. A couple of players just threw themselves out of the action. Wheatley again at the back of the pack, goes into the middle of the ground. Burridge is there, couldn't take the mark, but he feeds the hand pass to Bottrell. He does likewise to the run of Perry Thompson. Gathered it nicely, now directs it up towards Turvey at half forward, couldn't take the mark. McGrath gets the hand pass out to Dodd. The worst of all possible bounces, allows Swan to take possession. Again the skipper Barnard clears to Waller. Two stalwarts combining together. Waller along the line, has a man close to it. Luke Webster, can he keep it in? He can. Gets a possession and a kick up towards the half-forward line. Ridley's taken it. Good football again by East Perth. Squaring pass from Ridley. East Perth players all over the ground trying to get in on the act. Why wouldn't you? With premiership medallions beckoning, Brent Cowell is marked with Scott Chisholm.
He's done his shoulder, I think, Phil. He did come off the ground, was replaced by Tom Bottrell, just holding his left shoulder there, as we saw on screen.
Yeah, did it in an early exchange in this quarter. I did see it. He went to ground and came up holding his shoulder. 9.5 minutes into the final quarter, and Brent Cowell with a chance to bring up his first goal for this afternoon, but again sends it across to the right-hand side, minor score only.
Been said, I'm not sure Glenn will know exactly when South's last goal was. They kicked their fifth at some stage in the second quarter.
The 27-minute mark, John, off the boot of Daniel Dodd. So they have been goalless in the second half, which is now a quarter and 10 minutes old. Ashley Sampi again, big responsibility for a young man. Played in the 18s National Championship earlier this year, and he's got the duty here of trying to find a teammate on the kick in. It may well go out of bounds without being touched at will. So a free kick to David Haynes. Had a standout game in the second semi when he took 8 marks and had 21 possessions. Not quite as prominent this afternoon. He's got Turnbull calling for the ball towards centre half forward, and he directs the pass towards him. He plays on now towards the vice-captain in Swan. 60 metres out and closing. Thumping kick towards the goal line, off hands behind. Perry almost at the fall there and able to soccer it through, but the ball just eluding him off the top of the pack. And that gentleman believes that the Bulldogs might be premiers in 2001.
Rather symptomatic of South Fremantle's afternoon. In tatters, they came here with such hope. So Segovic back to Sampi, short pass. Really needs to find targets on the full. Rennick under pressure, hand passes to Hayden. Gets it back now to Goals, and David Galt sends it out towards centre wing. East Perth again with the numbers. They've got 2-1. Swan prevails in the air and then recovers the best. Hits the ground running, kicks the ball up towards Munro at half forward. Very clean overhead. There's a player of considerable skill, Kane Munro. For a smaller, slighter player, certainly does take a very, very strong mark. Chisholm back on the ground for South Fremantle. Short pass from Munro. Cowell really not manned up anywhere near closely enough, but he's taken the mark at right full forward, John, but with another chance to bring his first major up for the afternoon. Yeah,
well, he's been a good player too, but he was there for a long time, Phil. When Kane Munro first initially took the mark, there was a couple of East Perth players in the corridor, all three, and Cowell was one of them. So probably 20 seconds elapsed and nobody manned him up. Now he's shooting on goal.
Cowell again sends it right out to the right-hand side. He's certainly got a hook, but Buzan is there in a big pack. The big man with those big hands that we talked about has taken a very strong mark. South Fremantle just haven't got the answers
He's come from a long way back, as you'll see. He was the last man in the back of the queue there from the vision, standing behind the goal line, and he was the only one out of the 5 or 6 players that competed for the football that really wanted the ball.
No one really wanted to body him, did they?
No.
Cap off a good final series, as he got 4 in the second set and is lining up for 4 now in the grand final.
Yes, he's got 1 in each quarter so far, so this would round it off nicely for Dean Buzan's grand final. He comes in, and he doesn't like that off the boot. I can assure you that's the reason why minus score only for Dean Buzan after such a good market really deserved a goal.
It's one thing, John, at the next level, he's going to have to improve his kicking. He gets a lot of the footy, but I mean, from that distance there, he should never miss as a specialist forward.
No, well, that's going to be the task for the Eagles. If they get him up to the senior list, they've got to get that kicking technique better, because he's got very strong hands and body.
Sampi comes out wide, and this time Burridge prevents it from being a free kick. He gets hands on it and takes the mark 2 metres in from the chalk. He hugs the boundary line with his kick. Set a real hard task for Hall, who was camped underneath it. Webster came in to destroy the ball in a boundary throw-in. As Bottrell is coming on, Roger Hayden going off. There's Chisholm in the background there, wearing number 16, back on the ground about 2 minutes. Turnbull palms it down. Waller beaten by the bounce, so too Turnbull on the second attempt. Gasper, it's a real body slam. Good tackle there from Paul Simmons. High tackle, eventually called. And it's going to be a free kick here to Travis Gasper. He won't have a premiership medallion, but maybe his brother will if Richmond can upset Brisbane tonight and take on the Bombers next week. Tinsley up high over Swan, plays on, squaring kick to centre half forward. East Perth have the numbers, one of whom is Devon Perry.
Yes, they have the numbers and all the answers, as we see here. Sean Tinsley, who's had a good game, as we've said. Terrific mark. Barnard again just mopping up across half back. Troy Butcher has played his part this afternoon. Goes wide to Turnbull, the Sandover medalist, and he's marked almost unattended. Well, they're finishing very strongly. East Perth, centering pass from Turnbull has gone to Luke Webster, just keeps getting possessions. He'll go sideways and out very wide to the run of Barnard. Well, there's no one behind him, so he can run. Now he delivers to the half-forward line accurately to David Haynes. In the shadows of the grandstand, Haynes will drive East Perth inside 50, but Burridge is in the way for South. That was good football. Turns defence into attack, goes to Perry Thompson. He'll want to play on. Oh, that's right off the side of the boot, almost a windy. Fortuitously, it goes though to Seagate. Short little passes. Turnbull comes off for East Perth, but again South Fremantle have turned it over. Kane Hayes sends East Perth back into attack. This is Buzan. The ball cleared the head of goal. Buzan snaps on goal. Very, very high. Meeting it hard there was Simmons. Ridley controls it to ground level. Now it's Cowell. Can he kick a goal this time? Swings it across his body, and at last, Brent Cowell. Try again. The most difficult of all his chances. And he's got East Perth supporters on their feet.
Well, they'll be on their feet for a long time, I reckon, at the East Perth Social Club tonight, Phil. There's no doubt about that. And Cowell was very good at ground level then, just to get it. He snapped it on his left foot around his body. Unfortunately, you just couldn't see him kick any of those straight ones. Buzan's ball went straight up in the air and ended up back where it almost started from. And you'll see Cowell at the end of the screen here, just around his body. Just a quick slam on there, but that's all it needed, and it went straight through.
It's a message there for Brent Cowell. From now on, when you mark or get a free kick, just play on. Don't go back and take the set shot. He made the difficult look easy. There's Andy Lovell in the foreground, alongside here Tony McHale. And today, Tony McHale will be awarded the inaugural John Todd Medal for the winning coach on grand final day at the WAFL level. And John Todd, the man who coached his 700th game, and in the process, I think 6 premierships at WAFL level, 4 with Swans, 1 each with East Fremantle and South Fremantle, will be on hand to present the medal. East Perth go forward again, slick hand pass by Webster to Simmons from 55 metres, goal square unguarded, they've got another one. It's an avalanche. The Royals have 14 and the Bulldogs have not goaled since the 27-minute mark of the second term.
Well, it's quite ironic. Tony said at three-quarter time to Rod, well, it's not over, and just prior there after Cowell's goal, he looked quite happy, and terrific work, but they just cleared the ball far too easy. Simmons just running forward. South Fremantle have been very stagnant in the middle of the ground when they've lost possession of the football. Their midfielders have been flat-footed, whereas East Perth have kept going with the direction of the play.
Well, the scoreboard attendance been kept on his toes all afternoon, mainly courtesy of East Perth. 14 goals, 16-100. South Fremantle 5-8. Kane Haynes controlled it. Wheatley a hurried kick. In went Hum. Came out without the football. Hall just toe poked it forward. Dodd just pops it up into the path of Swan. His hand pass finds Wheatley. Now it's again that man Simmons on the run, drives it forward. Doesn't quite get it to spin properly, but it clears the pack. Into the pocket it goes. Ridley's there once more, but beating him to it is Segovic. He desperately takes it over the line.
It's going to be quite interesting when John Todd presents the inaugural John Todd medal to his brother-in-law, Phil, at the end of the game. It'll be a good family affair.
Yeah, keeping it all in the family. It's going to be a happy East Perth family celebrating long into tonight and tomorrow morning, one would think. Thompson from behind won the knock, came down to Bottrell. He was wrapped up by Simmons, perhaps putting his hand up for the Simpson medal. The ball comes out to Munro, snaps it right across his body to the edge of the 10-metre goal square. Barnard's getting into the act. Why wouldn't the skipper, who's racked up a lot of possessions, mainly across half-back this afternoon, he wanders forward and has taken a very, very strong mark.
Well, he had a lot of space behind this pack there, and Jeremy Barnard was, the only one that had a jump at it at the end, and it wasn't a great high mark. He had 2 bites at the cherry, but this will be fitting for the skipper to kick a goal in the grand final.
Travis Knights has come on for Brent Cowell, who may still be bleeding.
Marty Atkins is contemplating coming on. If he's injured, I'm not necessarily sure why. Maybe he's going to be on the ground. You might be right, Glenn. It could very well be his last game.
Meanwhile, Jeremy Barnard, really from what should be point-blank range for a player of his experience, he makes no mistake about it. And Jeremy Barnard, he wants to get the celebrations underway. So do the supporters. The Royals steamrolling South Fremantle. Look at the scoreline, 106-38, and the Royals flags are flying.
They certainly are, and you can see Marty Atkins has come onto the ground. Ryan Turnbull standing up on the boundary. I'm not sure whether Ryan wants to, but I can tell you it's a bit of a different feeling being on the ground when the siren goes in the grand final, or being on the woodwork. I'm sure all the boys from East Perth's perspective will be up and at him in about 10 or so minutes' time, and Tony McHale will probably come down to the boundary line as well.
So the margin 68 points. Last year was a 39-point win to East Perth in the last game of the season, the grand final against East Fremantle. So they're going to do it even more comfortably this afternoon.
Rod, out this way, mate. Rod.
There's still time for them to extend on this 11-plus goal lead. We've just gone past 20 minutes. It's going to be a long last 10 minutes for for South Fremantle. Probably a long last 10 minutes for East Perth too, knowing that the game is in the keep, and they just want to probably celebrate wholeheartedly. Out towards the boundary line comes Webster, and in the end he's assisted there with a robust knock by Holman over the chalk. Luke Webster, son of a man who played also, Ron Webster, premierships for East Perth. Ball thrown in. Atkins squeezes a quick kick to centre half forward. Barnard, the goal kicker, is there by hand to Swan. Swan off to Butcher. He's got Marley running outside him, doesn't use him. Goes down the centre of the ground to Antonowitz, who can play on, and he does. He goes now towards Buzan on the lead. Can't take the mark. Follows up well on the ground. Hand passes to Hum. Hum by hand to Ridley. Turns onto the left boot. Sets it goalward and misses absolutely everything.
Yes, well, Paul Ridley rather ambitious from deep in the left full forward pocket on his non-preferred side. He certainly is a mercurial player, but that was perhaps asking just a little bit too much. Even on a day where things seem to have gone so much the Royals' way. Perry Thompson with the football, and all he can hear is the chant of the Royals as it goes around Subiaco Oval. High kick, Kane Huss put a fist into it. Chance there for Hum, he went to ground. Ashley Sampi, 17-year-old playing in his first grand final, but certainly he's got a lot of football ahead of him. Wheatley's got a lot of football behind him. He goes up towards centre half forward. Waller was into the action. So too Webster. Inside 50, the Royals just so desperate. Simmons was in there once more. But when you're that desperate inside your own offensive 50, John, it certainly says something about the hunger of the team.
Well, I think one of Tony McHale's strong points in the way he applies his team to play, Phil, is their hardness at the ball in the contest, and they've been fantastic today.
Kane Hayes in ruck. Gasper palms it down, goes to Thompson. They can't really lay a hand on him. Eventually he releases it. Simmons, now Sampi. just scoops the ball along the ground, taken by Webster. At least he clears the congestion and running onto it, anticipating it beautifully in flight was He made a quick few metres across the ground, got himself into the right position, and in the end took a chest mark.
Ryan Turnbull's going to come back on, Phil, and I think it's Kane Hayes coming off, and fittingly so. The Sandover medalist should be out there when all the celebrations start, and Paul Simmons has hurt himself just prior to that.
Well, Jeremy Hum can become East Perth's 10th goal scorer, sends it on its way, and the talented young Eagles player has made no mistake, bringing up East Perth 16th with his first. Now they do have 10 goal scorers, and South Fremantle still haven't added to their goal scorers list, at least since the 28-minute mark of the second quarter. Here it is in replay, John. Yeah,
it certainly was, and South didn't clear the defensive area, and they just kept it in the corridor, and there's a quick kick by Webster, and you can see Hum there just left the picture. He was the only one that really had eyes on the foot. He knew where it was coming from and where it was actually going, and he went back and kicked a beautiful goal. So he's played his part. He hasn't been on the ground a lot today, Hum.
Centre bounce, crooked, favoured Gasper, won it down, they go forward again. Quick kick by Wheatley up towards half-forward, pack up, no one could mark, ball on the ground. Atkins went in, came out without it, Antonowitz sockers it forward. It's along the ground towards Haynes, back onto his right boot he goes. Knight's drifting down the ground, not enough carry on the pass. Chance here for Devon Perry, well tackled by Sampi, forced a hand pass away. Smithers there, by hand to Sampi, in the shadows of the stand, swings it very wide towards the members' wing. Swan up high, third in line. Wallace stayed down at the front, hooks it back over the shoulder, inside 50 it goes, at the fall Hum, snaps it high, up towards the goal square. Buzan is in front, great mark. Boy oh boy, has he got a strong pair of hands, Dean Buzan. And he can line up now for his fourth. That is a very strong mark. Jasegovic did everything he could to fist it away. And Dean Buzan, 2 bags of 9 this season in the home and aways. 51 goals for the season prior to today. This to make it 55 for the year and 8 in this final series. The margin currently 74 points. Buzan to make it 80. He falls onto his backside. We'll wait on it. It's a behind.
Well, they've already started celebrating down here on the bench anyway, Glenn. The East Perth boys all patting each other on the back. The directors are down here. It looks we're all pretty happy.
John Todd down there with the medal that bears his name, and there is the pennant in his hand, and behind him the Premiership Cup of 2001.
Yes, he'll be shortly handing that over as Ashley Sampi goes with a long kick toward the outer side of the ground. Turnbull went up a post to Burridge, hitting the contest at ground level. There was Rennick, toe poked it only as far as David Swan. Usual strength of body, gets himself clear, goes accurately to Webster. He lays it off to Paul Simmons. Paul Simmons has a shot on goal and has missed himself. Well, some of these East Perth players, you get the feeling, Doro, although they're pretty happy down there waiting to celebrate, some of the East Perth players seem to be arm wrestling over the Simpson medal.
They certainly are, and they've had a couple of shots on goal in the last 3 or 4 minutes and missed them, so well, not long to go now.
A little inaccurate in front of goal, 16-18. Perry Thompson goes straight down the corridor, finds Darren Rennick.
Since half-time, the scoring shots 14-4.
Certainly has been a powerful display by the Royals, not just in this match, but right throughout the season. Diving effort successful out there by Swan, despite the efforts of Tinsley, one of South Fremantle's better players today. But David Swan, just when things are all academic in a grand final, settling things down, goes with a squaring pass to David Antonowitz. He comes across the ground likewise to Waller. So all the East Perth players getting into the action. Waller now across his body, kicks the ball in front of Travis Knights. Marty Atkins is there, perhaps his last passage of play. Makes some room there for Burridge. He goes by left boot. That was a clever foot pass, and he's found Ashley Ugle. Certainly a player of the future. South Fremantle have got a number of them. He squares it to Tinsley. Now Tinsley called to play on, but then forced to go sideways to Marty Atkins. Atkins onto his right boot, up towards half forward. Ashley Ugle there again, but well, that says it all. Things haven't been going well for South Fremantle.
So the ball will be thrown in at left half forward for the Bulldogs, and as Bill mentioned, not going right for them. They're goalless since half-time. Now free kick before the ball is thrown in. Turvey in frustration has upended Butcher, and a free kick to East Perth at right half back. Tony McHale starting to head down to ground level. There's no more changes that need to be made. There are no more moves that need to be swung. His team is going to win consecutive premierships. Cal Grubbers a little kick for Chisholm, goes in with a fair bit of intent, and in the end the ball over the line, and we'll have another boundary throw in. There is starting to give out the hugs and the handshakes. Tony McHale, seconds away from his third WAFL premiership. The ball tossed in. Atkins couldn't take it. Cowell, a hand pass inside towards the potential Simpson medalist Wheatley, who hits Haynes lace out on the chest at centre half forward. Haynes had a standout game in the second semi. Bombs it long towards the goal square. Buzan up, fisted away from behind by Ercegovic. They can't keep inside the field of play, and we'll have a throw in. The margin 76 points. Ball thrown in again. Brought to the front by Buzan, uses his strength, held up in the end by Bottrell. A turnover. Sampi gathers off the ground, almost runs into the defence goal square, redirects it to the outer side. McGrath drops the mark, gathers now. Condon, McGrath hard up against the boundary line, goes short, finds Rennick. They want to go on it in a hurry. Rennick run down from behind, holding the ball. Turnover, Hum's got it, hand passes away. This is Barnard, the skipper, falls over. He'll get taken high. Free kick going against Turvey. There's McHale down on the boundary line. Boy, are they happy. There's Ben Condon, the Bulldogs footy manager, a forlorn sight. Peter Sumich, the face says it all. There's always next year, Summer. Today has belonged to East Perth for the second year in a row. Now Barnard will hold the Premiership Cup aloft as captain shortly. Goes short and wide. The mark to Haynes. He's a thumping kick. This one very high from 60 metres. Where's Buzan? Where's Butcher? Big leap through his hands. Wheatley falls over at the front. Tries to get a hand pass out towards Munro. The hand pass in the end by Turvey over the line. Another throw in, but we're nearly playing down time. Alex Wilson, affectionately known as Marbles, the general manager of the club, embracing with Tony McHale. The players will be celebrating shortly. Buzan, can he snap his fourth from long range? Sets it up to the top of the goal square, and Tonowitz marks, plays on, another one.
Blow the siren, for goodness sake, Glenn. I know they've kicked a few goals here. That's their 6 goals, sorry. 6 goals, 6 in the final quarter. The South Fremantle 1 point with 30 and a half minutes. 3 versus 1. Good use of his body by David Antonowitz. He's pretty excited. He doesn't get up forward to kick too many goals, and there wasn't a soul behind in South Fremantle. From the centre of the ground then, after that goal was kicked, there was not one player backward, certainly from an East Perth defensive point of view. And I've never seen a gathering like that. Like, they've come from everywhere, like the players, all the supporters, the directors and everything on boundary side. And blow the siren before they bounce the ball so they can celebrate properly.
31 minutes gone. 82 points the margin. South's going forward through Rennick, up towards half forward. Ball pitches awkwardly. Butcher to mop up in defence. Gathers. There it is. For the first time in 17 years, consecutive premierships in the WAFL. East Perth running out winners. Their 16th WAFL flag to the massive margin of 82 points. David Swan's tucked the footy under his jumper. There's Tony McHale, his third WAFL premiership, his second in as many years with East Perth. Joyous scenes for the Royals. They have won by a massive 82 points and have held South Fremantle goalless from the 27-minute mark of the second quarter. And that, John, is a dominant performance in a grand final, no matter what the level of competition.
I know it reminds you very much of a grand final in 1988 when Hawthorn annihilated Melbourne over there in the VFL. So, look, it's a fantastic effort by the Royals. They've certainly been the most dominant side, although Claremont and South during the course of the year had their spots up at the top of the ladder. They played their best football in the last half of the season, and they clearly illustrated today. It's terrific for them. I suppose for the game of football, you don't really like to see margins of this magnitude. 24,000 people come along to see you hopefully see a top quality game of football. Half of them are going to be happy and half of them are going to be sad.
Well, there is the group that's happy. There's the forlorn Marty Atkins. It's the last time we'll see him pull on the number 43 red and white Guernsey. Given the fact that he was injured and he did come on in the last quarter in time on perhaps Peter Sumich inkling that he may not be back next year. Now all the East Perth support crew and some of the other players, reserves and Colts, are streaming out to the middle of the ground. Pats on the back all round, back to back indeed. And could they next year replicate Swans of 82, 83 and 84 by taking out a hat-trick of WAFL premierships? The man that coached the Swan Districts team in that era, John Todd, will be presenting the John Todd Medal, struck earlier this year in recognition of Toddy's 700 games as a lead coach in WA. Let's have a listen. The Royals probably knew they had this one won just before three-quarter time. There's Peter Sumich, his second year as a lead coach at WAFL level. It wasn't to be today, perhaps next year. Scott Chisholm there. Let's go down to Rod Willett, who is with the Sandover medalist and now a premiership player again in Ryan Turnbull.
Ryan, congratulations, mate. A Sandover medal and a premiership. How's it feeling?
It's just fantastic. This is the one that we wanted. Sandover's a bonus, and I was really worried because coming into the game, most Sandover medalists have a shocker in the grand final, but I did my bit. This is just tremendous.
Now, back-to-back for East Perth. I know you didn't play last year, but a tremendous performance. It hasn't been done for a long time.
No, I think 56, 7, I think it was around then for East Perth. Oh, mate, it's just unreal. I mean, this is a great team, great bunch of guys, and let's go for a three-peat.
Mate, what makes them a little bit better than everybody else? They were probably too good for South. Everyone knew it. What makes East Perth so good and be able to do back-to-back?
Really, it's the boys. You know, it's just a big heart. It's one big family. They just want to help, chip in for each other, and you know, it's just a tremendous club. That just a fighting spirit. It's just everything. It's just the Royals.
Now, were you pretty confident that you could beat South today?
We were confident, but the hardest part was keeping a lid on it, and only playing sort of one game in a month. So, it was going to take its toll, but who cares? We've won.
Ryan, fantastic effort, mate. Go join your mates. Well done.
Ryan Turnbull, another trophy of sorts, a premiership medallion to go with his Sandover medal. Of course, didn't play last year by virtue of being used exclusively with the West Coast Eagles. Just the joyous scenes and the faces of the East Perth players, the caps printed in good faith in the lead up to this game are all being donned now. Let's go down again to Rod with the premiership coach, Tony McHale.
Tony, congratulations, mate. It's getting easier for you, I think.
Oh, they're never easy, Rod. It's a great relief now it's all over.
Now back-to-back, mate, must be a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, it was something that we never spoke about at all. We never put any focus on it, but it was ironical. We got Jack Sheedy to talk to the boys on Thursday night, and I was going through his record and noticed that he'd gone back-to-back at 58, 59, and I made a comment when I first started. I was first appointed coach here last year at one of the sponsors' functions that I would like to emulate what Jack did, being one of the few people who crossed the bridge. So hopefully this has gone down the path a little bit to doing that. But players have got to take all the credit. They've been fantastic for 2 years.
Tony, yourself, obviously, back-to-back premierships and a couple of premierships before that. Is the reality hit into you yet, you think? Not really, no. I guess it was a bit emotional when I first come down, to share it with all my supporters, and I have a fantastic support staff. It's almost equivalent to an AFL club. The people that help, and they play an enormous part. Andy Lovell, I wouldn't have been able, with my workload this year, probably achieve what I've achieved with his help
particularly at training and so on, and Warren Marnie, of course, and not to forget Bronte Housing, our president. You know, that his support has been enormous.
Now, Tony, just quickly, I heard you mention to the players about the 73 grand final that you lost. Just tell us quickly about that.
Oh, I played in 74 and for East Fremantle in a game that we won, and I must admit personally I didn't perform all that well, and it's something that's eaten away at me all my life and probably will till the day I die. But and you know, I just asked the players to really not put themselves in that position, and they've carried that out to the lead-up today.
Tony, congratulations. You've done a magnificent achievement in football, and we wish you the best of luck wherever you end up next year, and good luck.
Thanks, Rod.
Tony McHale, another premiership medallion for him. Let's go down and join Phil Lamb for today's presentations.
Final day from this day forth. As we all know, John Todd, late this season, coached his 700th league match and is no stranger to the centre stage on grand final day, having been a multiple premiership winner himself as a coach. Ladies and gentlemen, how good were East Perth today? I know how it feels to be in front of the stage on grand final day, but I also know what it feels to be like standing over there. It's not pleasant, but I think you'll all agree with me that South Fremantle have been fantastic this year, and they were very gallant in defeat today, and I'd like you to show your appreciation of the South Fremantle Football Club. Well done to South Fremantle. Without any further ado, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce the man to present the John Todd Medal, a legend of Western Australian football, the man himself, ladies and gentlemen, John Todd.
Thank you, Phil. The John Todd Medal, and I'm proud to say, was won by Tony McHale.
So Toddy keeping it in the family with Tony, his brother-in-law.
Congratulations, Tony, on a job well done.
Firstly, thanks very much to JT. I guess if it wasn't for him, he was one of the coaches that gave me my first opportunity at WAFL level, and I thank him very, very much. Secondly, to the South Fremantle Footy Club, congratulations on playing off in the grand final today. You had a terrific season. I know it was a disappointing finish for you, but there were circumstances that probably affected that. To Peter Sumich, close friend of mine, he's done a fantastic job in playing off in a grand final in his second year, and I'm sure that his rewards will come to him. To our players, to Bronte Housing, the East Perth Footy Club, and our players are absolutely fantastic today, and they deserve all the credit. And in particular to my support staff, thanks very much. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Thank you.
Tony McHale, the inaugural winner of the John Todd Medal. Tony, don't go away. I'd like you to come back here and ask Jeremy Barnard, the captain of East Perth, to come up and join you to receive the Premiership Cup and the Premiership Pennant for season 2001. The Premiership Pennant and the Premiership Cup to be presented to Tony McHale and Jeremy Barnard, again by John Todd. East Perth's captain, Jeremy Barnard, to say a few words. I know he'd love to. Jeremy? Photo opportunity.
Not before he's called all his players up onto the stage to soak in consecutive premierships. The camera's about to start clicking. Essendon will be hoping that this is an omen. When Jeremy Barnard held the trophy aloft last year, his brother Paul went on to win a premiership with Essendon earlier today. The Bombers have qualified for next Saturday's AFL Grand Final. Could the Barnard family make it a quinella on both sides of the Nullarbor? Could this be the start too of an East Perth dynasty?
Under all the boys, they will be back on the stage to accept their premiership medallions, but first of all,